Chapter 1104. Gong Sun Lang rummaged through the cabinet, while the three of them sat in front of the table. Hua Xiaoxiao looked at Su Yun for help. Obviously she did not want to stay here any longer. Su Yun nodded slightly, indicating that she could leave at any time. Seeing that, Hua Xiaoxiao heaved a sigh of relief. Xiao Xiao. Just then, Gong Sun Lang's face revealed a happy expression as he walked over. As he walked over, he was holding a blue porcelain bottle in his hand. The three of them focused their gazes on the porcelain bottle. The porcelain bottle was glowing, and the material it was made of was not ordinary. He walked over and carefully opened the red stopper on the porcelain bottle. Then, he carefully poured out a purple pill pearl from inside and waved it in front of everyone. An intoxicating fragrance seeped out from the pearl. Good pill. Xiao Chua, who had been maintaining her indifference, could no longer sit still. Judging from the color and smell of the pill, one could tell that it was extremely extraordinary. Of course, this was bestowed to me by the Lord of the Fourth Step. Even a person of the Fifth Step would not have the fortune to enjoy it. Gong Sun Lang said proudly. Humph. Hua Xiaoxiao only glanced at the pill, but did not seem to care too much. However, Gong Sun Lang did not see it. With a smile on his face, he held the pill towards Hua Xiaoxiao and said, Come, Xiaoxiao, take it and follow me. What are you doing? Of course it's to digest this pill. Gong Sun Lang said, then turned her head and smiled at Su Yun. The two of you, digesting the pill requires some process, and during this process, it will involve some secret techniques of the Immortal Court. This secret technique cannot be casually revealed to others, so please leave for now and come back later. Xiao Chua frowned, but did not say anything. On the other hand, Hua Xiaoxiao could no longer sit still. She immediately stood up, slammed the table and said angrily, Gong Sun Lang, what do you mean by this? Are you trying to chase me away? No, Xiao Xiao, don't misunderstand, that's not what I mean. Gong Sun Lang quickly explained. If you're not chasing people away, why do you have to say such words? Good. Alright, let's go out. You can slowly set up this secret technique. Then, Hua Xiaoxiao pulled Xiao Chua away. Hey Xiao Xiao, you misunderstood. They are the ones who are leaving. I have no secrets from you, Gong Sun Lang quickly said. How can we do that? Why can I look at them but not them? Why am I the only one getting special treatment? Are you looking down on Xiao Chua? Xiao Ling is my good sister. If you look down on her, it means that you look down on me. What do you mean by that? Hua Xiaoxiao was getting angrier. Su Yun, who was at the side, found it funny. He knew that it was not because Hua Xiaoxiao was angry at Gong Sun Lang's words, but because she wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Gong Sun Lang was stunned, not knowing how to explain. Hua Xiaoxiao's endless pestering had left him scratching his head in confusion. Actually, if a woman wanted to find a reason, it was just a matter of opening her mouth. Hua Xiaoxiao did not give Gong Sun Lang any chance to explain, and directly pulled Xiao Chua's hand, and said angrily, Chur, let's go, I can't stay here any longer, even if there's an incredible pill, I won't eat it. Go! With that, Zhang Xian walked out of the room without any hesitation. Seeing this scene, Gong Sun Lang was stunned. How could he have thought that Hua Xiaoxiao's temper would be so bad? This inexplicable situation caused his stomach to be filled with anger. Immediately, anger surfaced on his face, but just as he was about to say something, a figure came from the side and blocked his path. Young Master Gongsun, women are not chased like this. If she wants to leave, then let her go. If you get angry now, then you will never have the chance to get her. A voice floated into Gong Sun Lang's ears. Gong Sun Lang was startled for a moment. He turned to look, and realized that Su Yun was standing beside him. But this woman, she doesn't know what's good for her. Does she really think she's someone? I even gave her the soul-cleansing pill, but from start to finish, she didn't even look at it. What does she think I, Gong Sun Lang, am? Seeing that Xiao Chua and Hua Xiaoxiao had already left the house, Gongsun Lang shouted out in anger. She doesn't treat you as a treasure, so you don't have to treat her as a treasure. Since you two are not fated, why let go? Su Yun laughed. Gongsun Lang glanced at Su Yun and snorted. Your relationship with that Hua Xiaoxiao seems to be pretty good? AI, young Master Gongsun, you've wronged me. My relationship with Hua Xiaoxiao can only be said to be ordinary. What I truly care about is Xiao Chua. Xiao Chua. Gongsun Lang's eyes shone with an obscure light. He licked his lips and did not say a word. How could Su Yun not know what Gongsun Lang was thinking? He immediately went over and whispered, Young Master Gongsun, what do you think of Xiao Chua? Do you even need to ask? Gongsun Lang replied straightforwardly, but just as he was about to say something, he looked at Su Yun suspiciously. Seeing Su Yun's wretched look, he knew that Su Yun was also a kindred spirit, and after thinking about it, he did not need to be afraid of Su Yun, so he casually said, Compared to Xiao Chua, Hua Xiaoxiao is like a tender blade of grass beside a fresh flower. It's just that I don't have the ability to take down Xiao Chua, so I can only stare at Hua Xiaoxiao. Young Master, what do you think of me? Su Yun said with a smile. You? Gongsun Lang did not understand Su Yun's words. He glanced at Su Yun and suddenly laughed. You look so wretched, what can you do? Damn it, what do you mean? I'm wretched. Su Yun cursed in his heart, but he was angry in his heart and smiled, saying, Young Master, you think I'm ugly, that's fine, but at least I took down Xiao Chua. You took down Xiao Chua? Gongsun Lang was shocked and immediately said, You actually have such great ability. Ability? That's not it, but it's just a little trick. Actually, with young Master Gongsuan's capital, it's easy to take down Hua Xiaoxiao. Su Yun laughed. I just didn't use my strength. Otherwise, how could this woman escape from my grasp? Gongsun Lang was unconvinced. Of course, although I haven't interacted with young Master Gongsun for long, I have heard of young Master Gongsuan's abilities. This kind of woman just doesn't know how to appreciate favors. If young Master Gongsun really wants to argue with her, how can she still be so arrogant? Su Yun flattered him again. That's right. It had to be said that Su Yun's words had truly warmed Gongsun Lang's heart. He nodded slightly, the anger on his face dissipating by more than half. He looked at Su Yun and said, You're quite smart. Young Master is too kind. Su Yun laughed. He quickly thought for a while, then asked carefully, Young Master Gongsun. About that, do you still want to take down Hua Xiaoxiao? Hua Xiaoxiao. Gongsun Lang snorted and said, Such a woman. It's fine to play with her, but she's not suitable to be dual cultivation partners. Isn't that how women are? It's her fortune that young Master Gongsun has taken a fancy to her, but she treats young Master like this. It's truly despicable. How about this, young Master? I still have some understanding of Hua Xiaoxiao. Why don't I help young Master take down Hua Xiaoxiao? What do you think? Su Yun laughed. Hearing that, Gongsun Lang was immediately interested. Brother Su Yun, could it be that you have some ideas? Of course there is a way, but it depends on whether or not young Master Gongsun is willing to help. After all, it's impossible for me to do this alone. Su Yun laughed. Young Master Gongsun, you have such a wide network in the Immortal Court, it's actually more than enough to deal with a woman, especially a woman like Hua Xiaoxiao. You can tell with a glance that this kind of woman is a typical example of someone who doesn't eat soft food. You've already given her such a generous gift, and you've condescended to bring her here, but what about her? Yet, he is acting all high and mighty. How can this be? Brother, if you can help me take down that bitch Hua Xiaoxiao, I. Gongsun Lang looked at the soul-cleansing pill in his hand, and quietly put it away. He hurriedly said, I will definitely prepare a big gift for you. How could such a small action of his be hidden from Su Yun's eyes? Su Yun sneered in his heart, but did not reveal much of it on his face. He only smiled and said, Young Master is too polite, You are a noble of the immortal court. To be able to meet you today is already the fortune of 3 lifetimes. If I can help young master a little, to Su Yun, it would be a great gift. How can I ask for young master's gift? Look at what you're saying. I've already called you brother. Why are you still calling me young master? Gongsun Lang was unhappy. Then, brother. Big brother. Su Yun's heart was filled with unhappiness as he shouted out. Sigh. Gongsun Lang laughed. He immediately hugged Su Yun and said, Quickly tell me, how did you take down Xiaochua? Although this woman has not been in the immortal court for long, she is very powerful and has many abilities. She was actually recognized by the Lord and became a spirit-seeking envoy. Although she is of no rank, I do not dare to do anything to her. I see that your cultivation is not high, but you were actually able to take her down. What methods did you use? Quickly tell me, tell me. Gongsun Lang looked like he could not wait any longer. Su Yun secretly laughed in his heart, but he pretended to be calm and said, Actually, this woman, whether it is a mortal or an immortal, is actually the same. As long as you find the right medicine, find their weakness, and then attack decisively, not to mention a fairy, even if it is a goddess, it would not be difficult to take them down. As long as you are prepared for everything, and figure out their preferences beforehand, then there will be no problem. Gongsun Lang's eyes lit up, but he did not interrupt. He stared at Su Yun seriously, like a student looking at his teacher. Seeing Gongsun Lang's expression, Su Yun knew that he had firmly grasped Gongsun Lang's chess piece. Chapter 1105. Although a woman like Hua Xiaoxiao seems to have a tough temper, her heart is actually very soft. If you want to take her down, you have to target her weakness. You have to show that you are tougher than her, that way you can suppress her in terms of aura, conquer her body, and then conquer her heart. Once she opens her heart to you, she will be like a docile sheep, obedient to you. Brother Gongsun, although you have some tricks up your sleeve, your strength is not right. It's like a fist hitting a ball of cotton. What effect can it have? Maybe the situation is even more serious, and it will directly backfire. I think the current situation is the opposite of what you want. Not only did you not win Hua Xiaoxiao's heart, you made her hate you even more, didn't you? Su Yun smiled and said. Hearing that, Gongsun Lang frowned. After thinking for a moment, he sighed and said, Brother, you are right, it's just that I am not good at identifying people. Although Hua Xiaoxiao is a woman, you have heard of a saying in the mortal world, a woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Hua Xiaoxiao is also an immortal. She has experienced a lot of things, her mind is even more difficult to understand. Read people's hearts? That's simple. Su Yun slapped his leg and said with a smile, but the moment he said that, his expression suddenly changed. He shut his mouth tightly, as if he had said something he shouldn't have said. Hearing that, Gongsun Lang's face immediately became puzzled. Brother, what do you mean? Are you saying that it's actually very simple to understand a person's heart? This is not simple either. Su Yun's eyes swayed, as if he was quickly thinking of an excuse. However, although Gongsun Lang's ability to distinguish people was not good, he could still see this point. His voice became deep. Brother, do you still treat me as your elder brother? Do you still need to hide anything from me? If you have something to say, just say it, don't hide it. If that's the case, then we can't be brothers anymore. After saying that, Gongsun Lang snorted, his face full of dissatisfaction. Father really doesn't want to be brothers with you. Su Yun laughed in his heart, but he put on an anxious expression on his face, and quickly said, Brother, don't be angry, I'll say it all right. Only then did Gongsun Lang's expression become much better. However, it's fine to say it, but brother, please help me, don't tell anyone else, or else I'll get into big trouble. Su Yun said carefully. Seeing Su Yun's nervous face, Gongsun Lang immediately became interested, and said with a smile, What exactly is it? Tell me. Big brother guarantees that I am the only one in this world who knows what you say. How about it? Brother, can you swear? Su Yun said carefully. Let's not even talk about making an oath. Even if we make an oath in front of the celestial stone, why not? Gongsun Lang patted his chest. There's no need for the immortal stones. Actually, I trust you, big brother. Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief, revealing a relaxed look, and said, Actually, speaking of it, this can be said to be related to the secret of my life, but today, brother and I have hit it off so well, if I still hide it from you, then I am indeed not human. Saying that, Su Yun moved closer to Gongsun Lang and whispered, Has brother heard of the great exquisite technique? Grand exquisite technique? Gongsun Lang frowned. How can I not have heard of this divine art? The great Ling Long Palace's famous technique is feared by all immortals. Since elder brother has heard of it, then you must know how powerful the grand exquisite art is. Actually, I saved a fellow Taoist from the grand exquisite palace a few years ago. In order to repay my kindness, that Taoist secretly taught me some superficial knowledge of the grand exquisite art. Su Yun said carefully. With that said, Gongsun Lang was immediately startled. After a moment, his eyes lit up. He was extremely excited. He immediately placed his hands on Su Yun's shoulders and said excitedly, Bro, you know the great exquisite technique? Su Yun frowned, but did not reveal anything. He only nodded slightly and said, I only know a little. Even if it's just a little, it's still amazing. The great exquisite technique can see through a person's mind. How powerful is it? Even the mind-reading technique that my immortal court has mastered can't compare to it. Gongsun Lang was excited, and read out the 3 words mind-reading technique. Once he said it, he felt that something was wrong, but seeing Su Yun's astonished gaze, he laughed awkwardly and said, forget it, since I've already said it, I won't hide it anymore. Brother, you have already confided in me. If I still hide it from you, it would seem that I, Gongsun Lang, am being pretentious. How could I not know who my elder brother is? But this mind-reading technique, why? Does the immortal court also know a technique similar to the great exquisite technique? A divine technique like the great exquisite technique has long been grasped by the immortal court, but the mind-reading technique that the immortal court has grasped is different from the current great exquisite technique. It only peeks into the mind, and the way it peeks into the mind is rather complicated. It can be said to be a relatively old version of the great exquisite technique, but it is still quite practical. The immortal court does not dare to casually recruit an immortal technique like the great exquisite technique. Otherwise, once the people of the immortal world find out that the immortal court has mastered this technique, they will not only fear the immortal court, but also fear it. This will have a huge impact, and there might even be a riot. Gongsun Lang said softly. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded his head. No wonder the immortal court had been indifferent to the great exquisite palace for so many years. It was not that they did not want to obtain the great exquisite technique, but that they did not dare to. Even the mind-reading technique was hidden. Brother, since you know the basics of the great exquisite technique, does that mean that you can pry into Hua Xiaoxiao's mind? Gongsun Lang hurriedly asked. This. Brother, I didn't know that the immortal court had the mind-reading technique. If that's the case, then I'm afraid my great exquisite technique is unnecessary. Look at what you're saying. What's unnecessary? Do you think everyone in the immortal court knows how to read minds? Only special envoys know how to read minds, such as Lord Shin Chi's group of 7. Ordinary people would never be able to learn how to read minds. Furthermore, reading minds has an extremely high requirement for an immortal's spirit. Although I have some ways in the immortal court to learn how to read minds, that is practically a fantasy. So that's how it is. In that case, this little trick of mine can still be put to use? Of course. Gongsun Lang laughed. Hurry up and take a look at Hua Xiaoxiao's thoughts. I was wondering how you could take down Xiaochua. It seems like you have such a method? As he said that, Gong Sun Lang's face was filled with a vulgar smile. All right. Su Yun nodded and was about to stand up, but not long after, Gong Sun Lang suddenly called out to him. Brother, wait. Brother, do you have any other orders? Su Yun turned his head and looked at him. About that, Gong Sun Lang hesitated for a moment, his face becoming hesitant, as though he was considering something. Su Yun saw the light flickering in the depths of his eyes, and thought that he had taken the bait. He immediately opened his mouth and said, Brother, if you have anything to say, just say it. If I have the ability, I will definitely do my best to help. This isn't a big deal. Oh right. Gong Sun Lang suddenly thought of something, and immediately took out the purifying soul pill that he kept earlier, extended it towards Su Yun, and laughed. Brother, that bitch Hua Xiaoxiao doesn't want it, leaving this treasure with me is a waste, why don't I give it to you? How can this be? If you don't take it, we won't be brothers, Gong Sun Lang said with a straight face. This. Su Yun's face revealed a difficult expression. He looked hesitant. After a moment, he sighed and nodded. Since that's the case, then I won't be polite. Seeing that, Gong Sun Lang beamed with joy and said, Sigh, this is my good brother. Brother, we shouldn't drag this matter on for too long. I'll make my move now and go find Hua Xiaoxiao. Su Yun laughed. Good. All right, hurry up and go. Gong Sun Lang stood up and was about to send Su Yun out. After leaving Gong Sun Lang's cultivation grounds, Su Yun directly headed towards where Hua Xiaoxiao and Xiao Chua were. Xiao Chua and Hua Xiaoxiao were still waiting for Su Yun's news in her cultivation deacon's place. When the do-do-do sound came out, the seal on the door opened almost instantly. Xiao Chua's handsome and beautiful face immediately appeared in Su Yun's line of sight. Are you all right? Xiao Chua quickly sized up Su Yun and asked. Don't worry, everything is fine. Su Yun smiled, looked around, and said, This is not a place to talk, let's go in and talk. All right. Xiao Chua nodded, then closed the door and opened the seal again. Hua Xiaoxiao was still thinking about something at the table. When Su Yun came in, she immediately stood up and asked, How are you? Are you all right? Gong Sun Lang won't do anything to me, don't worry. Su Yun sat down, seeing a pot of immortal tea on the table. He immediately poured himself a cup. The sparkling and translucent liquid flowed out of the pot, like sparkling diamonds. It was extremely beautiful. Su Yun looked at the liquid in the teacup, and could not help but take a sip. Good tea. Su Yun praised. Of course, this is the tea bestowed to Chuer by the higher-ups. She specially took it out to entertain you. After drinking this tea, you can increase your cultivation by 100 years. Hua Xiaoxiao snorted. 100 years? Su Yun was slightly shocked, looking at the remaining liquid in the cup. He immediately took another sip, carefully tasting it, but realized that there were no changes in his body. Seeing Su Yun like that, Hua Xiaoxiao and Xiao Chua, who were at the side, could not help but laugh. Who would be so wasteful like you? Although this tea could increase one's cultivation by 100 years, that was only for ordinary immortals. For geniuses, it wouldn't be able to increase their cultivation by that much. If one's cultivation was so strong, drinking this tea wouldn't change much. The benefits of this tea didn't lie in its increase in cultivation, but in its taste. You don't even know how to taste tea, so it would be a waste to take this tea out, Xiao Chua said with a smile. Seeing that, Su Yun laughed awkwardly. However, he rarely saw Xiao Chua smile, and after seeing her today, he felt that she was worth more than this tea. Chapter 1106. At the moment, Gong Sun Lang was sent into the immortal court by Su Yun. No matter what, he had to eat this. Oh right, how's Gong Sun Lang? What did you say to him? Hua Xiaoxiao asked anxiously. What can I say to him? Of course it's to discuss with him how to get you, Su Yun said. Hearing that, Hua Xiaoxiao snorted and said, That's so unpleasant to hear, I'm not a commodity. But in his eyes you are. The reason why I can talk to him is because of you. Naturally, I have to teach him how to chase after you. You! Hearing that, Hua Xiaoxiao was furious. Which side are you on? How can you help the evildoer? Was this helping the evildoer? Su Yun did not know what to say. He coughed and said, Miss Xiaoxiao, you don't have to worry, that was just an act, and my words were actually nonsense, it was useless, but Gongsun Lang's IQ is low, and he believed it to be true. If you really help him deal with me, don't mention whether I will forgive you or not. I believe that Shower will definitely not forgive you, right, Shower? Hua Xiaoxiao said to Xiao Chua. Xiao Chua was startled, her cheeks flushed red, she turned her head to the side and said softly, Why are you asking me about this? Seeing that, Hua Xiaoxiao laughed sinisterly and did not say anything else. Hey, Miss Xiaoxiao, even if you don't believe me, you should at least believe Shower, right? Don't worry, Gongsun Lang won't be able to jump around for a few days. Once we get rid of him, you guys can take over. It's not important. As long as this despicable fellow can leave the immortal court, that's a good thing. Su Yun stayed at Xiao Chua's place for about half a day, and then directly left, heading towards Gongsun Lang's location. At this moment, Gongsun Lang was still anxiously waiting for him. He really wanted to know if Su Yun's methods were useful or not. Great, exquisite technique? This is indeed a good technique. If I can learn this technique, wouldn't I be able to ascend to the heavens in the immortal court in the future? Thinking of this, Gongsun Lang couldn't help but feel excited. The Grand Ling Long Palace didn't have many advantages in the immortal world. Its resources couldn't compare to the other immortal sects, and its relationship wasn't as strong as the other immortal sects. Even its connections in the immortal court could only be considered average. However, it wasn't because of Kuei Yang's hard work that it was able to fight for a place in the vast immortal world. It was because of the famous grand exquisite technique. With this divine art, Dali Palace would be able to gain a firm foothold in the immortal world. Even if someone were to conspire against the great exquisite art, there was nothing they could do about it. This was because no scheme could be considered a scheme in front of the great exquisite art. The immortal court's mind-reading technique was classified as a specific Dharma art. Ordinary people of the immortal court didn't even have the chance to come into contact with it. However, what would happen if they could learn the grand exquisite art? Brother Gongsun, are you there? Just then, Su Yun's soft voice came from outside. Gongsun Lang was stunned for a moment before he hurriedly flew over and opened the door. Before Su Yun, who was standing outside the door, could react, he was dragged into the house by Gongsun Lang. How is it? What was the situation? How was Hua Xiaoxiao doing? Did you manage to find out anything? Gongsun Lang's face was filled with anxiety. As soon as his voice fell, he immediately asked a series of questions. Su Yun was startled and said, Brother Gongsun, don't be so anxious, let me tell you slowly. Only then did Gongsun Lang realize that he was a little anxious. He laughed and said, Brother, I'm sorry, I've been waiting anxiously. I can understand. After all, I've been gone for half a day. However, brother, this time, I can't give you accurate information. Su Yun shook his head and said, What do you mean? Could it be that your great exquisite art is useless against Hua Xiaoxiao? How can it be useless? I've already successfully used the great exquisite art. I've also seen a portion of Hua Xiaoxiao's thoughts, but what? It's just that there's Xiao Chua beside me. It's not easy to do. At the crucial moment, she interrupted me. Crucial moment? Gongsun Lang was confused. What crucial moment? Su Yun sighed and said helplessly, I went to find Hua Xiaoxiao and chatted with her for a while. While she wasn't on guard, I directly used the great exquisite art. Hua Xiaoxiao doesn't understand the great exquisite art, and she doesn't know that I can use it. She can't guard against it, so I directly broke through her defenses and peeped into her state of mind. Brother Gongsun, Hua Xiaoxiao's thoughts are extremely complicated. Under her influence, you are indeed very outstanding, talented and intelligent, and you are also handsome and have a good temper. For example, what? Gongsun Lang stared at Su Yun nervously. For example, I don't know either. Su Yun shook his head. Didn't I tell you? At the crucial moment, I was interrupted by Xiao Chua. Xiao Chua seemed to be a little jealous, and didn't like me talking too much to Hua Xiaoxiao, so she forcefully pulled me away. This time, there's really no other way. What's going on? After all this time, you've only found out about this much? Gongsun Lang frowned. He stood up and said, No, brother, you have to make another trip, to find Hua Xiaoxiao again. I must get to the bottom of her thoughts. Hurry up and go. This. Su Yun was in a difficult position. What's wrong? Gongsun Lang became more and more displeased. But seeing Su Yun hesitate for a moment, he said, Brother, it's not that I don't want to go, it's just that Xiao Chua is a big problem. She seems to think that I've talked too much to Hua Xiaoxiao, and intentionally doesn't want me to see Hua Xiaoxiao. If I look for Hua Xiaoxiao again, I'm afraid she'll cause trouble again. This woman. Furthermore, I won't be able to stay in the immortal court for long. This time, I used the sex business as an excuse to make a trip to the immortal court. Time is of the essence, and I will be leaving in a few days. This time, it will be very difficult for me to help brother. Su Yun said with a face full of guilt. Hearing that, Gongsun Lang was immediately enraged, thinking that he had even given the cleansing soul pill to this bastard, who would have thought that this bastard would not be able to complete the task. He immediately shouted, Are you playing with me? Brother, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? I've been waiting for you here, yet you gave me such a piece of news. Are you worthy of me? But, I don't care what method you use, you must get rid of Hua Xiaoxiao for me, or else you won't be able to leave the immortal court. Gongsun Lang immediately turned hostile. Su Yun's face was filled with bitterness, as though he was about to cry, not knowing what to say. He immediately paced back and forth, looking like he was in deep thought. Brother, how about you give me some more time? Hua Xiaoxiao can't escape either. After I return to the immortal seeking sect, and take care of the matters in the sect, I will come to the immortal court to take care of this matter for my brother. What do you think? Cut the crap. You must get rid of Hua Xiaoxiao for me now. Brother, how about this? As long as Xiao Chua doesn't cause trouble, everything will be fine. How about it? You're going. How could I possibly do that? That's your problem. Isn't Xiao Chua your dual cultivation partner? You can't even deal with her? But Su Yun seemed to be at his wit's end. Although Gongsun Lang's face was filled with anger, his eyes were secretly sizing up Su Yun, as though he was waiting for something. He was using words to force Su Yun to do something. Finally, Brother, if it really doesn't work, how about this? Since there's not enough time, and it's not good for me to get close to Hua Xiaoxiao, why don't I pass the great exquisite technique to you, and you can go and pry into Hua Xiaoxiao's mind? Su Yun carefully moved in front of Gongsun Lang, and said in a low voice. With that said, Gongsun Lang seemed to have been petrified, and continued like this for a whole 5 breaths of time. Then, he suddenly jumped up and shouted, Brother, you, is what you said true? Is this a joke? How can it be a joke? Su Yun looked at Gongsun Lang and asked in confusion, What? From the looks of it, it seems like you're unwilling? Why would I be unwilling? Gongsun Lang immediately hugged Su Yun, and said enthusiastically, Brother, the great exquisite technique is a good thing. If you are really willing to teach me your great exquisite technique, then a mere Hua Xiaoxiao will not be a problem at all. It's just that I don't know if you really have such a plan, brother. What's there to be unwilling about? It's a good thing for me to be able to relieve my brother's worries. Su Yun laughed and said directly, I won't be staying in the immortal court for long. I and my brother are so compatible, why wouldn't I be willing to part with a great exquisite technique? However, this great exquisite technique is not simple, and it is not difficult either. If you want to learn it, it will be a little troublesome. Brother Gongsun, during my time in the immortal court, I will pass this great exquisite technique to you. I believe that with your brother's talent, this small great exquisite technique will not be a problem at all. That's great. Gongsun Lang was overjoyed. The way he looked at Su Yun was completely different from before. Alright, let's not waste any more time. We can begin now. Alright. Wait. Su Yun suddenly thought of something. Gongsun Lang was startled. He looked at Su Yun in confusion and asked, "What's wrong?" "Brother, if you want to learn the great exquisite technique, you still need to prepare some things. I'll tell you, you should go and prepare first. When everything is ready, we'll start." "Sure, I'll get you whatever you want," Gongsun Lang said boldly. "Alright, but before that, brother, how do I use the soul-cleansing pill you gave me?" Su Yun took out the bottle, shook it, and asked. "Simple. I'll tell you the method. Absorb it, I'll go prepare the materials for you." "Alright." Chapter 1107. Knowing that Su Yun wanted to pass down the great exquisite technique to him, Gongsun Lang was extremely happy, and immediately obeyed Su Yun's every word. Whatever Su Yun wanted, he would think of a way to get it. After consuming the pill, the items that Su Yun had told him about before were all gathered by Gongsun Lang. However, most of these things were good pills, and many of them were immortal treasures that could increase one's cultivation and strengthen one's physique. Gongsun Lang had been in the immortal court for a period of time, and although there were people promoting him, he had indeed done a lot of things for the immortal court, and had made some contributions to the immortal court. Among the materials that Su Yun had mentioned, many of them were rare pills, but they were obtained through his contributions and connections, and were extremely difficult. If it was in the past, Gongsun Lang might have felt the pinch for a while, but it was different now. If he could obtain the great exquisite technique, these things were nothing. But Gongsun Lang was extremely puzzled. Looking at the bottles and jars that he had gathered for Su Yun, he asked, "Brother, why do you need so many pills?" Su Yun held the bottle and answered casually as he sniffed it. "Eat." Gongsun Lang was startled. "Is it for me to eat?" "No, it's for me to eat." "You eat it?" Gongsun Lang's face was filled with confusion. "Hey, that's not right, brother. I'm the one who practices the great exquisite technique, not you. If you want to take benefits, you should at least wait until I learn it, right?" "This is not a benefit. This is just something that I have to teach you to practice the great exquisite technique." Su Yun immediately picked up a pill that could increase the body and muscles, and directly stuffed it into his mouth, without stopping at all. Gulp. When the pill entered his stomach, Gongsun Lang, who was at the side, drooled. This pill was something that he had obtained from the Stage 5 envoy, and it was impossible for a person of no rank to touch it. If he could consume it, it would increase his cultivation by at least 300 years. After a pill entered his stomach, Su Yun adjusted his breathing for a moment, then said indifferently, "Taking these pills and using these immortal equipment is actually to build my own foundation, brother. Not everyone can learn the great exquisite technique. Even if I throw the secret manual of the great exquisite technique in front of you, you will definitely not be able to learn it, because anyone who wants to learn the great exquisite technique needs to clear their mind, and let their body and mind be in an open state. If they do not have this state, even if I am Kuei Yang, I am afraid I will not be able to teach you the great exquisite technique. And if you want to clear your mind and build a good foundation for you, you will need to have a strong cultivation and physical strength. This foolish brother does not have these two, so I can only rely on these good pills and treasures to forcefully improve. There is actually such a thing. Yun could not understand. The immortal world is so big, there are all kinds of strange techniques, let alone the great exquisite technique? If brother does not trust me, you cannot learn it. After all, the choice is in brother's hands. Learn. You must learn. Eat. Eat more. If it's not enough, I'll think of a way to get more for you. Gongsun Lang hurriedly said. Eat first. If it's not enough, we'll talk about it later. Su Yun said casually, and then continued to deal with the bottles and jars on the ground. Most of the pills here were refined by the experts of the Immortal Court, so they were naturally much stronger than the pills outside. After Su Yun ate a few, he felt a burst of heat in his abdomen, and the aura in his entire body had an obvious increase, causing him to be both surprised and happy. Gongsun Lang stood at the side and watched. Although he was extremely impatient, he did not dare to urge Su Yun. After all, he yearned for the great exquisite technique too much. If he could learn it, he would definitely be able to ascend to the heavens in the future. As a secret technique of the great exquisite technique, it would never be spread out. Even if someone captured a disciple of the great exquisite technique and forced him to hand over the cultivation method of the great exquisite technique, it would be useless, because the disciples of the great exquisite technique could not be taught. It was said that something like this had happened before, but no matter who was captured, they were unable to obtain the cultivation method from their mouths. Gongsun Lang thought about it today. Maybe it was because of the soul cleansing and mind consolidating that Su Yun had mentioned. Many disciples of the great exquisite palace did not know how to cleanse their souls and strengthen their minds, so this guy must have met an incredible person from the great exquisite palace. Gongsun Lang did not think that Su Yun was lying to him. This was the Immortal Court. There was no benefit for Su Yun to lie to him like this. Su Yun just ate slowly and cultivated while eating. Although these pills were good pills to Su Yun, they were not top-grade pills. However, with Gongsun Lang's ability, being able to obtain these things was already very good, so there was no need for him to be so strict. Gongsun Lang had been waiting by the side the entire time. Su Yun's movements were neither fast nor slow. Sometimes he would swallow pills, sometimes he would use immortal equipment to strengthen his body's immortal meridian, sometimes he would sit cross-legged and close his eyes to cultivate. He was truly satisfied, and just like that, a day had passed, causing Gongsun Lang to be extremely anxious. He wanted to ask Su Yun when he could start cultivating the great exquisite technique a few times, but just as he was about to open his mouth, he would forcefully stop himself. It was only until the afternoon of the second day that Su Yun finished eating all the pills here. At the moment, his stomach was filled with medicinal effects that he did not have time to digest. Although the magic tools that Gongsun Lang had obtained had helped him digest some, it was still far from enough. However, he could not let Gongsun Lang wait for too long, or else he would make things difficult for him. It's about time. Su Yun exhaled, clapped his hands, and said as he looked at the mess on the ground. Gongsun Lang, who had been anxious for a long time, heard Su Yun's voice and immediately rushed over, shouting anxiously, "How is it? Can you teach me the great exquisite technique now, brother? Didn't I say it already? First, clear your heart and solidify your mind. After completing this step, we will begin. Then let's clear our hearts and solidify our minds now. Let's begin now," Gongsun Lang hurriedly said. "All right, time is of the essence. Let's begin now. Come, brother Gongsun, sit down." "All right," Gongsun Lang hurriedly said. Xian'er immediately sat cross-legged on the ground, her movements fast and careful. "Brother Gongsun, in a while, I will help you clear your heart and solidify your mind. You will feel a chill all over your body. This is a normal phenomenon, I hope you can endure it." Su Yun sat down and said, "Sai, what is this? How can I not be able to endure it? Just do it, don't worry about me," Gongsun Lang said boldly. "All right then." Su Yun nodded, without wasting any time. He directly placed his hands on Gongsun Lang's shoulders, and looked straight into Gongsun Lang's eyes. Being stared at by a man like this, no matter how thick-skinned Gongsun Lang was, he still could not endure it, and could not help but turn his head. "Don't turn around," Su Yun immediately shouted. Gongsun Lang's expression froze. Look at me. Ugh, look into my eyes. Ugh, Gongsun Lang said unnaturally. Then, he turned his head around. Looking at Su Yun's sword eyes, Gongsun Lang felt even more awkward. But just then, Su Yun's eyes suddenly turned snow-white, and his pupils completely turned from black to white. This change made Gongsun Lang know that Su Yun had started to cast a spell for him. He didn't dare to not cooperate in the slightest, and could only sit quietly, looking at Su Yun's eyes. Not long after, waves of coldness suddenly surged out from Gongsun Lang's heart. It was a completely naked, bone-piercing cold, as though he had been completely stripped naked and thrown into the wind by Su Yun, and every part of his body was seen through by him. Was this what this guy was talking about? Gongsun Lang muttered in his heart, but he did not say anything and waited quietly. Not long after, "All right." Su Yun closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said, "That's it." Gongsun Lang was startled. "It's only been the time for an incense stick to burn. Then how long do you want?" Su Yun asked. "This. But there's no change in my body right now." "Brother, did your technique really succeed?" Gongsun Lang was still a little doubtful. "Brother, you don't trust me?" Su Yun revealed a helpless and worried look. No, that's not what I meant. Brother, don't misunderstand." Gongsun Lang immediately waved his hand. Seeing that Su Yun had said that, how could he dare to question him further? If Su Yun did not teach him the great exquisite technique, then Gongsun Lang would suffer a huge loss. "Don't worry, brother. Since I promised you that I would teach you the great exquisite technique, I will naturally do my best. You can't feel any changes right now, but that's because you haven't started cultivating the great exquisite technique yet. Once you learn it, the effects will be very obvious. So it's like that. Let's not waste time, I'll teach you a few chants." With that said, Su Yun immediately chanted a series of strange and awkward incantations, allowing Gongsun Lang to cultivate. Gongsun Lang's talent was actually not that great, but his desire to learn the grand exquisite art was extremely strong, so he was especially serious this time. Without the slightest bit of delay, Su Yun seriously listened to every word that he said. He followed Su Yun's instructions and, as expected, there was a reaction in his body. He felt that his senses were even sharper and his eyes were even brighter, as though everything around him was being sensed and controlled by him. The great exquisite technique is not a complicated immortal technique, but it is not simple either. If brother wants to learn it, he will need to train hard. I will try my best to stay in the immortal court for a period of time to guide brother. If brother has anything that you don't know, you can come and find me at any time. I will stay at Xiaochua's place for this period of time. Brother, you can practice according to this first. I will come to see you tomorrow. I hope that you can improve," Su Yun said, and immediately walked out the door. Gongsun Lang was extremely happy. His entire being was completely attracted by the mystical technique of the great exquisite technique. He could not be bothered with Su Yun, and sat cross-legged in the array, continuing to cultivate. Seeing Gongsun Lang like that, Su Yun, who had walked to the door, secretly smiled, and directly pushed the door open. Chapter 1108. Returning to Xiaochua's cultivation grounds, Xiaochua was currently cultivating. Hua Xiaoxiao was nowhere to be seen, most likely receiving a mission from the immortal court and going out to do something. "You really taught Gongsun Lang the great exquisite technique?" After hearing Su Yun's words, Xiaochua frowned and said. She knew that Su Yun had already grasped the great exquisite palace, so it was not strange for him to know the great exquisite technique. "How could I really teach him the great exquisite technique? What if he uses it on me? Should I let him use it or not? If I let him use it, wouldn't he be able to see through my thoughts? If I don't let him use it, if he gets angry and our relationship isn't good, how can I use him?" Su Yun poured a cup of immortal tea and said. "Then what did you teach him?" Xiaochua asked. It's just a low-level immortal technique from the immortal seeking sect. This kind of immortal technique is something that the people of the immortal court would normally not even look at. It's normal for Gongsun Lang to not know about it. Is that so? Hearing that, Xiao Chua shook her head. This Gongsun Lang seems to be quite stupid, to actually be tricked by you like this. If I wasn't stupid, would I still be able to keep an eye on him? That's true. Xiao Chua glanced at Su Yun and continued to ask, then what did you get from Gongsun Lang? The great, exquisite technique? Su Yun laughed and said, because I used it face to face, in less than an incense stick of time, I even knew what pants he wore when he was young. Naturally, I also know everything about him in the immortal court. Hearing that, Xiao Chua frowned, but did not mind Su Yun's joke, and directly asked, then does he know about the immortal pond? I know a little. Su Yun's expression became serious, and nodded. What news about the immortal pond? It seems that when he was chatting with that lord accidentally mentioned it. He said that the most likely location for the immortal pond to appear should be in the south. South? Xiao Chua was startled. Was he referring to the south of the immortal world? Yes. The immortal world is so big, you should know better than me what the concept of the south is. Isn't it the same as not knowing about this news? Xiao Chua shook her head and said, perhaps the immortal court would have to search the south alone. This is just a rough location that the Lord told Gongsun Lang. I've peeked into Gongsun Lang's memories and thoughts. I also know what the Lord said. I feel that the Lord seems to know a rough location, but it's definitely not that vague. If I'm not mistaken, the immortal court should have already locked onto the area where the immortal pond might appear, and it's not that big, Su Yun said seriously. But Gongsun Lang doesn't know about the celestial pool. How should you start? Don't tell me you're going to build a relationship with that lord and use the great exquisite technique on him? Gongsun Lang has not seen much of the world. He does not know that what you used on him was not some clear heart and solid brain, but this master is different. As a fourth-rank envoy, he can sense any kind of immortal technique that peeks into the mind. I'm afraid that once you make your move, he will turn against you. Xiao Chua said with slight concern. I know. I'm not stupid enough to do that. Don't worry. Although I only have Gongsun Lang under my control, he can be a breakthrough point. Breakthrough? What breakthrough? The breakthrough point of the immortal court. Su Yun raised the corner of his mouth and said softly, if it was before I came to the immortal court, it could be said that the immortal court is impregnable to me. My understanding of it is limited to the information you provided me, and sometimes this information is not even considered important. After all, your position is low, your strength is low, and your ability is limited. You are unable to come into contact with too many important things, but Gongsun Lang is different. Although he is the same as you, an envoy without a rank, he is connected to a fourth-rank envoy, and this fourth-rank envoy is actually connected to a third-rank envoy. This kind of connection, I'm afraid it will be connected to the immortal court's hall master. In this way, this impregnable immortal court in front of me is like crumbling dust, no longer indestructible. What you said sounds nice, but how much power does Gongsun Lang have? It's already very difficult for you to get the information from the fourth-rank envoy through him, let alone the third-rank envoy. What happens after that is even more impossible. Xiao Chua frowned. She did not agree with Su Yun's beautiful words. But Su Yun was not afraid at all, and said with a face full of smiles, don't worry, Chua, I already have a plan. Xiao Chua's face turned red. She turned her face away and said, Hua Xiao Xiao is not here. You can just call me Xiao Chua. Isn't it the same? Is it not nice to hear? The second day. Brother Gongsun, how do you feel? Su Yun casually pushed open the door and entered, glanced at Gongsun Lang who was meditating in the center of the array, and laughed. I feel that my body is getting warmer and warmer, and the flow of the immortal qi in the immortal meridian is getting smoother and smoother. Especially my senses, they are extremely sharp now, but this great, exquisite technique? How do I peek into other people's minds? Why do I feel that this cultivation method doesn't seem right? Gongsun Lang took a deep breath and said with a thoughtful look, "How could it be wrong? Brother Gongsun, although we call each other brothers, strictly speaking, I am also your teacher. If you doubt my teaching methods time and time again, then this great exquisite technique will really be difficult to pass down." "Hey, brother, what are you saying? I don't have the slightest intention of doubting you." Gongsun Lang saw that Su Yun seemed to be a little angry, and immediately said, "I know that Brother Gongsun doesn't mean that. Alright, since you want to know if this kind of cultivation is effective, how about this: in 3 days, you should be able to enter the initial stages of the great exquisite technique. At that time, we will know. After trying it out, we will use Hua Xiaoxiao as the test subject. How about it?" "Ah, that's good," Gongsun Lang immediately said. He was already rubbing his palms together, unable to wait any longer. "Since you want to see the results in 3 days, then you have to work harder in these 3 days." Su Yun sat on the ground and sighed. "But to be honest, Brother Gongsun, my great exquisite technique is just a little bit of the great exquisite palaces. The truly powerful great exquisite technique is the one that can peer into the heart and read the memories. Any immortal in front of it would be naked, without any cover. When Brother Gongsun becomes stronger in the future, you can directly go to the great exquisite palace to obtain the true great exquisite technique to cultivate. Who would dare to stop you?" "Powerful?" Hearing that, Gongsun Lang snorted. "If I am powerful, how could it be just the great exquisite technique? There are so many magic treasures in this vast immortal world. Don't tell me I won't take them all?" "That's true." Su Yun laughed, then looked left and right, went closer to Gongsun Lang and asked softly, "Brother Gongsun, do you know about the immortal pond?" "Immortal pond?" Gongsun Lang turned his head to look at Su Yun. "Do you think that there are many people in the immortal world who don't know about the immortal pond?" "Ahaha, that's true, but Brother Gongsun, this immortal pond is so magical, countless immortals have been eyeing it for a long time. Is there any movement from the immortal court?" Su Yun asked carefully. Gongsun Lang glanced at him strangely, and said, "The immortal court is naturally looking for the immortal pond, but why are you asking this? This matter is currently a secret of the immortal court. I advise you not to ask too much." "Brother Gongsun, do you not see me as a brother? There's only you and me here. No one else will know what we say. What are you afraid of? I'm only telling you this because I treat you as a brother. Could it be that you think I, Su Yun, am a villain?" "Brother, you're thinking too much. Actually, I don't know much about the immortal pond. After all, I'm just a lowly envoy," Gongsun Lang said with a troubled look. From the looks of it, he thought that Su Yun wanted to get some information about the immortal pond from him. Su Yun had used the great exquisite technique on Gongsun Lang. He knew about Gongsun Lang's past, and understood his character, so he understood Gongsun Lang's thoughts, and immediately smiled, and said, "Brother Gongsun, this foolish brother is actually not very interested in the immortal pond. For a person like me, it is a blessing to be able to enter the immortal pond, and it is natural for me to not be able to enter. I don't care about the exact location of the immortal pond. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I hope that Brother Gongsun can enter the immortal pond and become a great immortal, so that you can protect us in the future." "You want me to enter the immortal pond?" Gongsun Lang sighed and shook his head. "To be honest, brother, I am actually one of the people appointed by the immortal court to enter the immortal pond, but I am just a replacement. Although I have a chance of entering the immortal pond, the chances are so small that they are negligible, and there are more than 100 people who are going to enter the immortal pond. It's not that I don't want to enter the immortal pond to become a great immortal, but I don't have the chance." Gongsun Lang sighed again and again, with an extremely helpless look on his face. Hearing that, Su Yun's eyes turned, he suddenly laughed, and said in a low voice, "Brother Gongsun, the opportunity is not given by others, it is something that you have to fight for yourself. If you are so unknown and do nothing, how can you enter the immortal pond?" Gongsun Lang's heart skipped a beat, his eyes widened as he looked at Su Yun. "Brother, what do you mean by that?" "Don't worry about what I mean, Brother Gongsun. Let me ask you a question first." "What question?" "Ask away." Su Yun paused, then said seriously, "Let me ask you, are you willing to enter the immortal pond?" "Why wouldn't I be willing?" Gongsun Lang answered without hesitation, but as soon as he finished speaking, his face was filled with worry, and he sighed. "But it's useless if I'm willing, there's no chance. Even if I look through the autumn water, it's impossible for me to enter the immortal pond." However, after Gongsun Lang said that, Su Yun smiled mysteriously and said, "Actually, if you want to enter the immortal pond and obtain this blessing, it's not that there's no way. It all depends on whether or not you're willing to do it." Gongsun Lang's eyes lit up, he swallowed his saliva, and whispered, "Brother, from what you said, could it be that you have a way?" "Yes, of course." Su Yun laughed. Chapter 1109. Hearing Su Yun's words, Gongsun Lang's eyes lit up, his heart jumped, he anxiously grabbed onto Su Yun's hand and asked anxiously, "What method? Brother, quickly tell me, what method is it?" "Cough cough, Brother Gongsun, let go of me first," Su Yun said uncomfortably. Hearing that, Gongsun Lang realized that he had lost his composure and immediately let go of his hand, but his mind was still on the immortal pool. He immediately asked, "Brother, just say it, don't make me anxious, you always say half of your words, you must make me anxious to death." Alright, I'll just say it directly." Su Yun exhaled and said directly, "Actually, Brother Gongsun, you have an advantage that is stronger than others, but you do not know how to use it. Even if you are the candidate for the immortal pool, it does not matter, you can clearly find out about the immortal pool at the first moment, but you have always been here doing nothing. How do you not know that I also feel that it is a pity for you? If Brother Gongsun is willing to put in even a little bit of effort, I'm afraid the current situation would not be like this, and Brother Gongsun might not be talking to your foolish brother in this place." Hearing Su Yun say that, Gongsun Lang felt that there was a hidden meaning in his words and immediately asked, "Brother, you mean, I heard that Brother Gongsun has an extremely good relationship with one of the 4th level envoys, I wonder if this news is true or false?" Su Yun went over and said softly, "This news is true." Gongsun Lang did not explicitly state who this lord was, and was obviously very cautious, but Su Yun already knew this lord's identity, so whether he said it or not, it did not matter. Since that's the case, then the 4th level envoy must know about the immortal pool. "Why don't you go and get the news from him?" Su Yun asked. "Get the news from the lord's mouth?" Gongsun Lang was startled, then sighed and said, "Do you think I don't want to? But how could the Lord tell me about such a thing? That's simply impossible." "I didn't say that you should ask directly. If you ask directly, the Lord will naturally not tell you." Su Yun smiled. "You can use other methods to obtain information." Gongsun Lang was not an idiot. How could he not understand what Su Yun meant? He did not get angry at Su Yun, but lowered his head and started to think. Seeing that, Su Yun smirked. After an unknown period of time, Gongsun Lang finally raised his head and asked, "Brother, this method of yours doesn't seem too good, right? Brother Gongsun, are you not confident in yourself? Or are you saying that you can't get any information about the immortal pond from that lord?" Su Yun asked. It's not that I can't say that I can't. It's just that my lord has been very kind to me. If he finds out that I've treated him like this, won't I die a horrible death?" Gongsun Lang said with lingering fear. "How could this be?" Su Yun glared and said sternly, "Brother Gongsun, you are doing this for the good of that master, even if he finds out, he will not blame you." What do you mean? Think about it. What is your motive for obtaining the celestial pond? If you can enter the celestial pool, you will definitely become a great deity. At that time, wouldn't you be able to help that Lord even more? More useful to that Lord? Isn't the Lord the one who benefits in the end? Think about it again. The Lord is in a high position, and there are many things that he can't do. For something like the immortal pond, not to mention the immortals outside, even the immortals in the immortal court are salivating over it, but many people don't dare to make any moves because of the strict immortal rules. But you are different. You are an envoy without a rank, and there are many things that you are not restricted by. Since the Lord cannot do this, why don't you do it? You are not only doing this for yourself, but also for the Lord. Su Yun said seriously. With that said, Gongsun Lang thought about it carefully. Actually, the logic was very straightforward. It was impossible for him to not understand it, but Su Yun understood that what he was worried about was not this, because what Su Yun said was risky. What he was truly worried about was the risk. After an unknown period of time, Gongsun Lang raised his head and said solemnly, "Brother, I feel that this method of yours is feasible, but I'm worried that if the matter is exposed it will. Don't worry, you're not doing it alone. I'll help you." Su Yun immediately comforted him. "If I have you to help me, then I will naturally be more at ease." Gongsun Lang took a deep breath and said, "Since you've decided, then brother, when do we start?" "Naturally, the sooner the better. If the immortal court confirms the location of the immortal pond, I'm afraid that the few people who have been appointed will immediately set off for the immortal pond. If you don't enter the immortal pond before them, then everything will be meaningless, and you won't have any more chances." "All right, I'll go find the Lord now," Gongsun Lang hurriedly said. "Find?" Su Yun pressed him down and said, "Don't be anxious. If you go over rashly like this, it will most likely be futile. This matter still needs to be considered in the long run, understand? Take your time." "Brother, what do you plan to do?" Gongsun Lang asked. Su Yun thought for a moment, then said, "Brother Gongsun, since you want to find out about the immortal pond, you need to start from two aspects. First, you need to find out who is in charge of the immortal pond in the immortal court. Second, you need to sort out the immortal court's strategy for the immortal pond this time. If you don't get these two pieces of information, just knowing where the immortal pond is obviously not enough. The immortal court's methods are strange, and you will never know what they are going to do next. In order to be absolutely safe, you have to do these two things. After all, if we fail, we will die without a burial ground." "You're right, but what should I do now? Should I go straight to the Lord and ask for information?" "Don't." Su Yun rejected immediately. With Gongsun Lang's intelligence, what could he get out of him? He might even end up trapping himself. "Then what should I do?" "Just eavesdrop." "Eavesdrop? How can I do that with my cultivation? I have a treasure. If you can successfully place it in that Lord's cultivation place, we can rely on this magic treasure to eavesdrop on every word that Lord says. It's just that ordinary people can't enter the fourth rank, so I can't use this treasure either. If Brother Gongsun is prepared to take action, you can take this treasure. I believe that with it, every word that Lord says about the immortal pond will not escape our ears." Su Yun said, then took out a blood-red cloth from the space bag and handed it over to Gongsun Lang. Gongsun Lang's gaze was immediately attracted by the cloth. He was stunned for a moment, and his eyes felt like they could not move away. "What is this?" "It's called the heart-listening cloth." "Heart-listening cloth? It feels very strange. Where did you get it?" "This kind of thing is naturally from the true devil realm," Su Yun said. "True devil realm?" Gongsun Lang was shocked. "That means this is a demon artifact." "Demon artifacts are devil cultivators' things. Brother Gongsun, how could I dare to use this? Furthermore, this is the immortal court, so it's even more impossible for me to bring it in." "Brother Gongsun, you're thinking too much," Su Yun hurriedly said. Then it's not a demon artifact? Gongsun Lang heaved a sigh of relief. He carefully took the red heart listening cloth and looked at it carefully for a while. Seeing that there were no demon artifacts overflowing from it, he heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Brother, is this thing really useful? How should I use it? It won't be discovered, right? This thing's concealment ability is very good. It doesn't have any chi on it. Other than being too conspicuous, nothing else will attract anyone's attention. If you casually place it in that lord's cultivation place, it will be fine. All right then. I'll find a chance to send this thing over." Gongsun Lang nodded and said, "And go ahead. Come back early. I'll wait for you here. During this period of time, you can cultivate the great exquisite technique while inquiring about the immortal pond." "All right." Gongsun Lang nodded and suddenly said with a serious face, "Brother, if this matter succeeds, I will definitely not treat you unfairly. With brother's words, I'm relieved. Wait for my news." After Gongsun Lang finished speaking, he immediately turned and left the house. Seeing that, Su Yun smiled, sat down cross-legged, and started to meditate. Next, it was up to Gongsun Lang. Gongsun Lang's strength could not be considered strong, and his talent could not be said to be outstanding. Furthermore, his so-called connections in the immortal court were not accumulated by himself, but by that lord. Su Yun really did not know why such a person who could not be considered smart would be chosen by the rank 4 envoy. His body was not a special physique. If he relied on himself to cultivate, he might not be able to become a great genius in the future. If that was the case, then there was only one possibility. There should be some special relationship between Gongsun Lang and that lord. However, when he used the great exquisite technique on Gongsun Lang, there was no such relationship in Gongsun Lang's memories, so perhaps only that lord knew. Su Yun thought about it, but could not think of anything, so he could only give up and continue to sit cross-legged. Previously, he had eaten a lot of immortal court pills, so he used this time to digest them. Not long after, Su Yun felt waves of heat coming from his body. Vaguely, there seemed to be signs of a breakthrough. Su Yun frowned. This was the immortal court. Breaking through here was not a good thing. Any strange phenomenon would attract the attention of others, and this was not a good thing for Su Yun's current situation. "Let's suppress it for now," Su Yun secretly said, and stopped digesting the pill. Suppress? How many people want to break through but can't? If you can break through, why don't you? Just then, Ling Qingyu, who was in the sword sheath, suddenly spoke. Hearing that, Su Yun was startled, and suddenly thought of the sword sheath. That's right, since he was worried that there would be a change in his breakthrough here, why not break through in the sword sheath? Thinking about it, Su Yun immediately took out the hidden sword sheath. Chapter 11:10. Although Sword Ancestor had been famous for a long time, not many people knew about his sword sheath. Su Yun was not worried that Gongsun Lang would see it, so he directly placed the sword sheath by the wall, then entered the sword sheath and entered the sword world. The world of the sword sheath was completely different from the immortal court outside. Here, even if Su Yun caused an earth-shattering commotion, no one outside would notice. After entering the world of the sword sheath, Ling Qingyu quietly stood on top of a snow-white sword discourse arena. The sword discourse arena floated in the air, like a pure white cloud. Su Yun landed on top of the sword discourse arena and immediately sat down cross-legged. Ling Qingyu slowly walked over, glanced at Su Yun, and said indifferently, "Why did you suddenly absorb so much energy? Did you take the pill?" "Yes, not only did I eat it, I ate a lot," Su Yun said. "These are all pills obtained from the immortal court. They are indeed extraordinary. Before I could even absorb all of the medicinal effects, I could already feel the immortal veins in my body stirring, showing signs of transformation. The pills in the immortal court all come from the medicine department, and the Immortal Court's medicine department can be said to be extremely outstanding in the entire immortal world. How can you not have any reaction after consuming these pills? Ling Qingyu said. Hearing that, Su Yun was slightly suspicious. Qingyu, you seem to know a lot about the Immortal Court? Ugh, I just have nothing to do, so I understand a little about the Immortal Court. Furthermore, you have been interacting with the people of the Immortal Court recently. How can I not know anything? You don't need to know. What is it? Do you think I'm meddling in other people's business? No, Qingyu, that's not what I meant. Su Yun immediately said. Ling Qingyu rolled her eyes at him, snorted and walked away. Her small face still had a look of anger that could not be dispersed, as though she was still angry about what happened last time. Su Yun did not dare to provoke Ling Qingyu at this time. Furthermore, time was of the essence. He did not plan to waste any time, so he immediately went into a meditative state, activated his immortal veins, and completely digested the effects of the pill in his body. As the medicinal effects in his body continued to evaporate, the temperature in Su Yun's body gradually rose, causing him to become hot. Standing at the side, one could see that his skin was already extremely red. But soon, the scarlet skin suddenly turned blue, and the temperature dropped rapidly. The signs were similar to the signs when he absorbed the evil core in the 8 Harmonies Gate. Crash. Just at that moment, 2 auspicious clouds suddenly appeared on Su Yun's left and right. One was scarlet red, like flames, and the other was deep blue, like the water of a cold pond. They were like fishes, revolving around Su Yun. In the process of spinning, the 2 clouds slowly stretched out and finally turned into 2 different colored spirit dragons, circling around Su Yun's entire body. Every time they circled, a spiderweb-like aura would leak out from the spirit dragon and directly seeped into Su Yun's body. Su Yun breathed deeply. His body had also become extremely strange. The left side of his face was covered in sweat, but the right side of his face was covered in a layer of frost. Ling Qingyu, who was standing in the distance, frowned when she saw the scene. She slowly walked over. She walked very lightly, and every step she took did not make a single sound. Unknowingly, she was already standing behind Su Yun. Su Yun's breathing became more and more frequent. His nose was also extremely swollen, as though he could not breathe, and his body would sometimes tremble and sometimes swell up. It was extremely strange. Just then, Ling Qingyu suddenly raised her hand and extended out a slender jade finger, gently tapping on the back of Su Yun's head. The fingertip was like a lotus flower, instantly releasing a dazzling light aura. The light aura was like a ripple, sweeping towards Su Yun's entire body, quickly entering and disappearing. Then, Ling Qingyu slowly retreated, once again distancing herself from Su Yun, and stood at the side. After a moment, the 2 spirit dragons that were revolving around Su Yun directly entered Su Yun's body and disappeared. Su Yun's body released circle after circle of light. These light halos were sometimes blue and sometimes red. They were especially resplendent, and lasted for about half an incense stick of time before completely disappearing. Su Yun seemed to have regained his senses from his meditation. He took a deep breath with all his might, and then slowly opened his eyes. 2 rays of light shot out from his pupils. The light seemed to cover the entire universe of stars. One after another star-like specks floated in the light, straight into the distance, as though they were connected to the entire sword world. Leveled up. Su Yun turned his gaze to his right hand and muttered. He did not feel any obvious changes in his body, but he clearly knew in his heart that he had broken through. This was a feeling that one did not need to deliberately feel to be able to see through everything, a kind of sublimation that was not obvious, but one was well aware of it. 4th stage of the spirit profound immortal realm. After all, Su Yun had only been in the immortal world for a short period of time. To be able to rush to the 4th stage of the spirit profound immortal realm in such a short period of time, if this were to spread, no immortal would believe it. Su Yun, how do you feel? Ling Qingyu walked over from afar, but her voice was still very cold. Very good. Su Yun stood up and stretched his muscles. The realm after the spirit profound immortal realm is not only related to power, it is related to the state of mind, the world, and all living things. When a person reaches that realm, the direction of their advancement is no longer just to adapt to all living things, but to go the opposite way, to make all living things adapt to themselves. Let all living things adapt to themselves. Su Yun was startled. To put it bluntly, it is to make all living things submit to you, control all living things, and reach a realm that is equivalent to the Creator. Are you joking? Do you think that the current you, in a place like the Sky Martial Continent, can be called the Creator? Ling Qingyu asked. With that said, Su Yun was startled for a moment, and became silent. Indeed, the current him was indeed an existence like the Creator in the Sky Martial Continent, but in the immortal world, he was as insignificant as a grain of sand. He carefully pondered over Ling Qingyu's words, and fell into deep thought. Although Ling Qingyu's strength was not considered strong, her foresight and insights were always able to light up people's eyes. Sometimes, Su Yun did not feel that her cultivation was low, and the words she said might even be something that some immortals could not comprehend. Ling Qingyu. Maybe I don't know enough. After an unknown period of time, Su Yun. Ling Qingyu, who was at the side, suddenly gasped. Su Yun was startled. He raised his eyes and looked. Qingyu, what's wrong? Someone's coming. Someone? Su Yun was confused, but quickly understood who Ling Qingyu was referring to. He immediately stood up and quickly left the sword sheath's world. Hua! A ray of white light shot out from the sword sheath's world, and then quickly transformed into a human figure. It was Su Yun. He immediately kept the sword sheath on the ground, and looked. The seal on the door of the cultivation ground had already loosened, and not long after, the seal was opened, the door was pushed open, and a person walked in quickly. When Su Yun saw the person, he immediately put on a smile and welcomed him. Brother Gongsun, how is the situation? Gongsun Lang anxiously walked to the front of the table, spread out a small piece of cloth on the table, and then injected a bit of immortal qi into the cloth. Not long after, the cloth floated up and quickly folded in the air, turning into the shape of a mouth. The magic treasure has already been placed in Master's room. Now, if Master is talking about anything related to the immortal pond in the room, I will be able to understand it clearly through this. Gongsun Lang heaved a sigh of relief and said to Su Yun, then moved his head closer to the red mouth and listened carefully. A moment later, a voice came out from inside. But just as the voice came out, Gongsun Lang immediately kept the red mouth. He looked at Su Yun and said indifferently, Brother, let's end it here for today. I'm tired too. You can go back first. I want to rest. Rest my ass. If you don't want me to listen, just say it. Su Yun secretly snorted, but on his face, he smiled and said, Since it's like that, then this foolish brother will take his leave first. Brother Gongsun, rest well, goodbye. With that, Su Yun immediately left the cultivation ground. Seeing Su Yun leave, Gongsun Lang carefully released the red mouth, and activated it again. The red mouth immediately released a deep and resounding voice. When I left, Master was talking to Lord Head Venerable. I believe that he will definitely talk about the immortal pond this time. I have to listen carefully, I can't miss this opportunity. Gongsun Lang snickered in his heart, and moved his ear to the red mouth. After a moment, Gongsun Lang's expression became excited, as if he had heard something incredible. He secretly laughed as he listened carefully. However, he did not know that in the corridor not far away, a figure was also secretly laughing. Gongsun Lang obtained the news of the immortal pond, which is equivalent to me obtaining the news as well. I never thought that this trip to the immortal court would go so smoothly. Su Yun muttered, his mind thinking about the future plans. Who knew how many powerful immortals were eyeing this immortal pond? How difficult would it be to take possession of it? Su Yun did not have any advantage, so he could only give it a try. Gongsun Lang knew nothing about the Immortal Pond, all he knew came from that lord. But that lord was only a stage 4 envoy, maybe he only knew a rough location, but he might not be able to completely grasp the Immortal Court's specific actions. If he could find out all the details of the Immortal Court's actions towards the Immortal Pond, then Su Yun would be able to completely grasp the initiative, and even if the opponent was the Immortal Court, he would not have to worry about anything. The rest of the matter was much simpler. Gongsun Lang used the magic treasure that Su Yun had given him to pry for information, while Su Yun used the great exquisite technique to obtain information about the Immortal Pond from Gongsun Lang. If the matter was exposed, if the Immortal Court wanted to investigate, they would only investigate Gongsun Lang, and Su Yun could completely escape, so doing so was the safest. Su Yun stayed at Xiaochua's place for 2 days, then went to where Gongsun Lang was. Using the excuse of helping him calm his mind and imparting the great exquisite technique to him, he secretly used the great exquisite technique to pry into the secrets of the Immortal Pond. In a few days, Su Yun already had an idea. Chapter 11:11. Gongsun Lang was still on guard against Su Yun. Su Yun had given him the magic treasure, and he had obtained the exact location of the celestial pond from the Lord, but he had never told Su Yun about it. If Su Yun asked, he would only answer perfunctorily and not elaborate. Su Yun's question was just an act. In fact, he already knew that if he did not ask, it would arouse Gongsun Lang's suspicion. Brother, the Immortal Court should have already confirmed the location of the celestial pond. There are less than 2 days before the celestial pond opens, and that location is at least 4 days away from us. If we don't go now and let others get there first, it will be troublesome. Brother, should I go now? Inside the house, Gongsun Lang pulled Su Yun and said anxiously, "Is there any movement from the Immortal Court? I heard that they have already started to form an expert group. They plan to control the celestial pond first, and then wait for the various sects to send people to arrive before conducting a selection. The selected ones will enter the celestial pond and enjoy a spot. When will the expert group set off? It is said that it is almost there. In about 6 hours they will be transported by a specific formation. They will be very fast and will arrive before the celestial pond opens." "They are really fast. Brother, we received the news too late. Although I also have magic treasures, I can't reach the celestial pond in the southern region in such a short period of time. I'm afraid that if I set off now, by the time I reach there, it will already be controlled by the people of the celestial pond. If it is controlled by the Immortal Court, even if I know about the celestial pond, it will be useless. There is no need to rush." Su Yun smiled faintly. "Brother Gongsun, you seem to have forgotten something." "Something? What is it?" "At the entrance of the celestial pond, there is a guardian beast. If the guardian beast is not defeated, no one is allowed to enter the celestial pond. This guardian beast is formed by the spiritual aura of the celestial pond water. It is extremely powerful and it is not easy to deal with it. Actually, according to my guess, other than the Immortal Court, there should be other immortals who have found the location of the celestial pond. It is just that these people are most likely unable to deal with the guardian beast, so they are unable to enter the celestial pond. So that's how it is, there's no time to lose. Since time is of the essence, you should go ahead. I should also return to the Immortal Seeking Sect. It's not good to stay in the Immortal Court for too long. Brother Gongsun, I wish you a safe journey." Su Yun stood up and cupped his fist. "I'm going alone?" Gongsun Lang was stunned. "What? Do you want me to go with you?" "No, it's just that the people of the Immortal Court will definitely be there first. Even if they fight the guardian beast, I'm afraid I won't be able to enter, right? They're fighting with the guardian beast. You can sneak in while they're fighting. Wouldn't that be fine?" That's true. The rest is up to you. Instant success. Su Yun patted Gong Sun Lang's shoulder and turned to leave. Gong Sun Lang was still sitting in the room, his eyes a little dazed. After an unknown amount of time, he seemed to have made some sort of decision. He stood up abruptly and walked out quickly. After leaving Gong Sun Lang's residence, Su Yun went to bid farewell to Xiao Chua and prepared to leave. The Immortal Court's actions had always been swift and decisive. However, even if they acted quickly, they would also formulate a series of meticulous plans. This organization was not lacking in talent. After leaving the Immortal Court, Su Yun headed straight for the Peerless Sect. On the way, he finally met the people of the Peerless Sect. Long ago, Su Yun had already asked Qin Qianlong to send a message to the Peerless Sect in the name of the Hidden Dragon Hall. He asked Ao Wushuang to bring Qing Heir to the Immortal Court and wait in the middle of the Peerless Sect. At that time, he had not confirmed the location of the Celestial Pool. However, once the location was confirmed, it was a race against time. He could not waste a single second. Su Yun flew as fast as lightning. He was almost using his immortal qi to travel. When he reached the place where the people of the Peerless Sect were waiting, his immortal qi had already been used up. Of course, his speed was also a few times faster. In less than half a day, he met up with Ao Wushuang and the rest. On a gigantic celestial cloud, rays of light shot out in all directions like shooting stars. Looking closely, one could see that the rays of light came from some of the arrays on the celestial cloud. On top of the celestial cloud, there were many figures. Around the cloud, there were many immortals. They were like guards, pacing around the cloud, as though they were patrolling. Su Yun looked from afar. He realized that it could be said that all the elites of the Peerless Sect had been sent out. Even Ao Wushuang himself was present. He did not understand Ao Wushuang or the Peerless Sect. He did not understand Ao Wushuang's thoughts. However, looking at the current situation, he felt that he owed the Peerless Sect something. Su Qing Heir possessed the body of a divine spirit. Not only did the Peerless Sect use all their strength to protect her, Ao Wushuang himself was also meticulous. He did not covet the body of a divine spirit but used all his strength to help her. Su Qing Heir was not related to him. If it was an ordinary person, how could they do this? When Su Yun flew over from afar, the surrounding patrolling immortals immediately noticed his movements, and immediately gathered over, shouting loudly, "Who are you? Stop immediately! I am Su Yun. Time is of the essence. Quickly move aside. I want to see your sect leader Ao." From afar, Su Yun used his immortal power to produce a voice. The voice seemed to float back and forth in the sky, and Ao Wushuang, who was in the celestial cloud, could hear it clearly. "It's young master." Su Qing Heir, who was in the center, also heard the voice, and immediately shouted excitedly, "It's young master's voice, sect leader Ao. Young master is here. He's really here." Qing Heir, don't be agitated. You shouldn't be too agitated right now. Although your cultivation has soared during this period of time, it is precisely because of your sudden increase in cultivation that your temperament is unable to keep up. You have to maintain a state of mind that is as calm as water at all times. Only then will you be able to keep your rationality and mind in order to not be in a mess. Do you understand? Shangguan Mei Yang, who had long pink hair, immediately said. Hearing that, Su Qing Heir nodded obediently. "Yes, master. You guys wait here. I'll go out and take a look," Ao Wushuang said indifferently. With a leap, he suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already outside the celestial cloud, in front of the patrolling immortals. Seeing that Ao Wushuang had come out, Su Yun immediately stopped. The violent wind that he had stirred up did not stop. With an astonishing aura, it sprayed towards the celestial cloud. The huge celestial cloud that was filled with arrays and immortals was actually blown away by the violent wind. The patrolling immortals were also affected by the wind. One by one, they swayed unsteadily and almost fell down. Ao Wushwang did not move at all, but his brows were tightly knitted. This aura. This guy's strength seems to be much stronger than the last time we met. Although he used a magic treasure to hide his cultivation, and his cultivation doesn't seem to be high, but why do I have a feeling that I can't see through him? Ao Wushwang frowned and did not say anything. Su Yun flew over and bowed respectfully to Ao Wushwang. Su Yun greets sect leader Ao. Ao Wushwang nodded and looked at Su Yun from head to toe, then said indifferently, "What are you doing here? I remember that the one who informed me to come here was Hall Leader Qin. He said that he could solve the problem of Su Qing Er's divine body for me once and for all. Why are you here?" The relationship between the Hidden Dragon Hall and the Peerless sect is not considered close. Why did sect leader Ao listen to sect leader Qin's words and dare to take the risk to bring Su Qing out? Su Yun asked. Although I, Ao Wushwang, am not considered a great expert in the immortal world, I still have some ability to judge people. I can tell if Hall Leader Qin is lying to me or if he will set up an ambush. Oh! Su Yun laughed. Didn't he tell you that I'm here to receive you? Receive? To be exact, I'm here to receive Qing Er. Where are you taking her? The Celestial Pool, Su Yun said in a low voice. As soon as he said that, Ao Wushwang's heart suddenly jumped. He could not believe what he had heard. What did you say? Where are you taking Qing Er? Even Ao Wushwang could not remain calm when he heard Su Yun's words. The Celestial Pool. Su Yun replied again. This time, Ao Wushwang was sure that he did not hear wrongly. He paused for a moment and said, "Do you know where the Celestial Pool is?" "I roughly know." "How did you find it?" Su Yun hesitated for a moment and said, "The Celestial Court." The Celestial Court? This time, Ao Wushwang was no longer shocked, but trembling with fear. He got the news from the Celestial Court? This guy. Who exactly was he? What kind of existence was the Celestial Court? Ao Wushwang was actually quite clear in his heart. After all these years, he had dealt with the Celestial Court a lot. Although the Peerless sect had some strength in front of the Celestial Court, it was still small and insignificant. Ao Wushwang was silent for a moment, then said in a low voice, "If Su Qing enters the Celestial Pool, with the magic of the Celestial Pool, she will definitely be able to raise her cultivation to the peak. Not only that, her current state of mind will also be able to be alleviated. I believe that before long, she will be able to successfully reincarnate and return to the peak of the Almighty. At that time, no one will have any more thoughts about her. At that time, she will no longer have a divine body. This is indeed a way to solve the problem once and for all, but even if you know the location of the Celestial Pool, what can you do? Do you plan to bring Qing to the Celestial Pool alone? Does sect leader Ao think that I do not have the ability to do so? To put it bluntly, yes. Ao Wushwang said bluntly. Su Yun smiled, but was not angry, and said directly, "Sect leader Ao, time is of the essence, let's end our conversation here. When I have time in the future, Su Yun will personally visit sect leader Ao. Please let Qing out. I will set off now, and head to the Celestial Pool." Ao Wushwang hesitated for a moment, and finally nodded his head, and waved his hand behind him. Not long later, Su Qing figure appeared in Su Yun's line of sight. Chapter 11-12. Seeing Su Qing Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. In fact, he was still a little worried that Ao Wushwang would not let Su Qing go. After all, he still could not guess Ao Wushwang's thoughts, but seeing how easily the other party let Su Qing out, it was enough to show that Ao Wushwang was not the kind of person who would plot against the divine body. Seems like I'm thinking too much. Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief and revealed a smile. Young master. When Su Qing saw Su Yun outside, she was extremely excited and immediately rushed over, throwing herself into Su Yun's embrace. Qing. Su Yun called out softly. He extended his hand and caressed Su Qing-er's head, his face filled with love. I never thought that I would be able to see young master here. Young master, how have you been all these years? Where have you been? Qing-er misses you very much. Su Qing-er's eyes were red. She had thousands of words in her heart, but it was difficult to spit them out in such a short period of time. Qing-er, let's not talk so much first. If you have anything to say, let's talk on the way. Follow me first, I'll bring you somewhere. Su Yun said. All right. Qing-er nodded obediently, then pulled Su Yun's hand and prepared to leave. Wait, Su Yun. Right at this moment, Ao Wushuang suddenly shouted from behind. Su Yun's body froze. He turned to look at Ao Wushuang, only to see him pursing his lips, and said indifferently, Are you sure you want to go to the Immortal Pond? I'm sure. Bring Qing-er there. Does sect leader Ao have anything to say? Su Yun felt that Ao Wushuang seemed to have something to say, but it was difficult for him to say it. He was silent for a moment, then turned his head and shouted at Shangguan Meiyang, who was still looking at Su Qing-er and Su Yun. Meiyang, come here. Yes, father. Shangguan Meiyang felt that it was strange, but she still walked out from the crowd. The people of the Peerless sect looked at each other. All of them were confused. Shangguan Meiyang's eyes were filled with suspicion. She walked in front of Ao Wushuang, only to see her father suddenly pulling her hand and pushing her to the front. Su Yun looked at Shangguan Meiyang. He vaguely guessed something, but did not say anything. Ao Wushuang spoke. Su Yun, I believe that the relationship between you and Qing-er is inseparable, unbreakable. A sharp blade can't cut it. A sharp axe can't split it, right? Su Yun nodded without hesitation. Qing-er's hands could not help but tighten. If that's the case, then I believe that you will not let Qing-er fall into danger, and will not let yourself fall into a dead end. Ao Wushuang said solemnly. I don't know who you are, nor do I know what your relationship with Qin Qianlong is, but I can feel that you should have your own methods, your own power. Since you have made this decision, then you will definitely not harm Qing-er. Although the celestial pool is dangerous, I guess you have most likely prepared a way out, so, then I, Ao Wushuang, have a presumptuous request here. I hope you can agree. Sect leader Ao wishes for me to bring Miss Shangguan along on this trip to the Immortal Pond, right? Su Yun said indifferently. That's right. Ao Wushuang immediately nodded his head and said bluntly. In the past, there was a small misunderstanding between Qin Qing and me, causing her to bring her children to live in the Sky Martial Continent, suffering a lot, and also suffering a lot. I owe Qin Qing a lot, and also owe Mei Yang a lot, although our family has been reunited now, but the arrival of Mei Yang made me happy and also worried. For my daughter to be able to accompany me, I can't sleep, but her strength is too weak in a place like the Immortal Realm. With her strength, it will be difficult for her to protect herself, even though I have allowed her to consume countless heaven and earth treasures, and even passed on my cultivation to her, raising her cultivation. But to raise an ordinary spirit cultivator to the Immortal Realm, this is an extremely difficult matter. At least the current me cannot do it, but, if I have the miraculous effect of the Immortal Pond, the situation will be different. Even with Mei Yang's cultivation, she will definitely be able to use the miraculous power of the Immortal Pond to ascend to the heavens in a single step and become a great immortal. I do not ask for her to be outstanding, at least to be able to protect herself. That is enough. My current wish is for her to be safe. Su Yun, if you don't find it troublesome, can you agree to my request? Bring Mei Yang along? Saying that, Ao Wushuang actually took a step forward and cupped his fists towards Su Yun. Seeing that, Su Yun was startled. The surrounding disciples of the Peerless sect were also startled. Shangguan Meiyang was even more stunned, her mind blank. Who was Ao Wushuang? Ao Wushuang was the sect leader of the Peerless sect. Even though the Peerless sect was not considered a top sect in the immortal world, Ao Wushuang was still a reputable figure. He was a proud person and would never lower his head to anyone. Even if the other party was stronger than him, he would not yield. But now, for the sake of his own daughter, he was going to bow to an unfamiliar immortal. Was he begging the other party? Father! Shangguan Mei Yang could not hold it in any longer, tears welled up in her eyes, and with a cry, she crashed into Ao Wushuang's embrace. At this moment, Shangguan Mei Yang felt something that she had always known existed but could not feel, fatherly love. How sacred! Ao Wushuang's body stiffened, but in the end, he still placed his hand on Shangguan Mei Yang's back, gently hugged her, and whispered, Mei Yang, I owe you and your mother a lot, and I have let you and your mother down. All these years you have suffered. Father, I am not wronged. I am just. As Shangguan Mei Yang spoke, tears could not help but flow down from her eyes. Don't say any more, child, listen to me this time. The immortal world is a very chaotic place. The peerless sect is not the overlord sect. To survive here, you need to have a strong cultivation. With your current strength, if you go out alone, you will definitely be captured by the immortals to be used as ingredients for concocting pills, so I must think of a way to increase your strength. I don't want strong strength, staying in the peerless sect is already very good. But the immortal world is not as peaceful as it looks on the surface. I can't protect you forever, you still have to rely on yourself. Ao Wushuang sighed. Hearing that, Shangguan Mei Yang cried even more fiercely. Although Shangguan Mei Yang looked like a little girl, her state of mind was actually very mature, but no matter who it was, no matter how successful, no matter how capable, in front of her parents she was still a child. When Su Yun saw this scene, his heart felt as if it was being tugged at, all kinds of feelings. He thought of his parents that he had not met yet, and then thought of Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue. For a moment, he could not help but sigh. Sect leader Ao, your peerless sect has done your best to protect Qing'er. This kindness, Su Yun has long remembered. This matter, how can I not agree? Since sect leader Ao trusts Su Yun, and has entrusted Miss Shangguan to me, then Su Yun will definitely protect Miss Shangguan, and bring them into the immortal pool. Su Yun said. If that's the case, then I'll have to trouble you. Ao Wushuang nodded, then let go of his hand, and said to Shangguan Mei Yang, Mei Yang, you can go. Shangguan Mei Yang also understood Ao Wushuang's meaning. In fact, she also yearned for strength in her heart. Since it was her father's decision, she did not intend to refute, so she obediently nodded her head. Father. Then take care. I will wait for you to come back. Yes. Shangguan Mei Yang quietly wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes, turned around and stared at Su Yun with her red eyes. Su Yun glanced at Shangguan Mei Yang, but did not say anything, but Qing'er quickly went over to comfort her. All right, time is of the essence, let's not delay any further. If you have anything to say, we'll talk on the way, let's go. Su Yun said indifferently. And the two girls nodded and immediately followed Su Yun forward. Ao Wushuang stood quietly, watching the three of them leave. Very quickly, the cloud that the peerless sect people were on disappeared behind the three of them. But after flying for a while, Su Yun stopped. What's wrong? The two girls following behind could not help but ask Su Yun. This is too slow. Su Yun said as he took out the sword sheath from his waist. Too slow? Do I need to activate the immortal qi? Qing'er has the protection of the divine spirit body. At this realm, there are almost no obstructions in her cultivation. If not for the fact that her mental state is difficult to keep up, she might be able to directly rush into the spirit god realm. The current her can be considered a strong expert, but Miss Shangguan, you can't, your cultivation is too low. If you rush like this, I'm afraid it will take at least 5 or 6 days to reach the location of the immortal pond. Su Yun said indifferently. Hearing that, Shangguan Mei Yang was shocked. The current Qing'er is already considered an expert. She has long entered the spirit profound immortal realm. I do not know what stage she is at, but it is definitely not low. But how did you see through Qing'er's strength? Qing'er should be at the 5th to 6th stage of the spirit profound immortal realm, but her realm is fake, it is just a name. Although she has entered this realm, she is unable to unleash the strength that a person of this realm should have. How can I not see through it? Su Yun said indifferently, then turned to the two girls and said, "Relax your entire body." The two girls were startled, but they did not refute Su Yun's words, and immediately did as he said. However, just as they finished, Su Yun immediately raised the sword sheath and covered the two girls' heads. A white light came out from the sword sheath, and like a wild beast's mouth, it swallowed the two girls. In the blink of an eye, the two girls disappeared, and were sucked into the sword sheath. This place? Su Yun, what did you do? Shangguan Mei Yang shouted in panic. Don't worry, this is the sword sheath's world. I don't have time to explain it to you right now, but there is a lady called Ling Qingyu inside. She will explain it to you. Alright, enough nonsense, I have to hurry. Su Yun shouted at the sword sheath, then hung it on his back, activated all of his immortal qi, and rushed towards the southern region of the immortal world. Chapter 11-13. The location of the immortal pond was still quite a distance away from Su Yun's current position. If Su Yun rushed there day and night, he would probably be able to reach it in less than a day, but there was a price to pay, and that was that his immortal qi would be immediately used up. Even if he rushed there, he would not have any immortal qi to use, and if he wanted to recover his immortal qi, it would take a lot of time. He stuffed pills into his mouth as he sped forward. Although that was the case, he still did not want to give up. It was too late to think of other ways, so he could only fight it out. In the blue sky, only an afterimage could be seen. It was still an afterimage left behind by the white clouds as he charged forward. Half a day later, Su Yun's immortal qi was already very low, and it was extremely difficult to maintain his speed. Qing'er! He panted heavily as he shouted into the sword sheath. Young master, what's wrong? Su Qing'er's voice came out. You come and help me, Su Yun said as he could not hold on any longer. Su Qing'er was also intelligent and understood what Su Yun meant. When Su Yun opened the sword sheath, she immediately flew out and took over Su Yun's sword sheath, while supporting Su Yun, who was on the verge of collapse, with her other hand. Young master, it's been hard on you. Leave the rest to Qing'er, Su Yun said gently. Su Yun nodded his head, without wasting any more words. He turned into a ray of light and entered the sword sheath. Su Qing'er immediately hugged the sword sheath with both hands, activated her immortal qi, and rushed forward. In terms of grade, Su Qing'er's current cultivation far surpassed Su Yun's, but in terms of strength, Su Yun could fight at least 10 Su Qing'er in her current state. However, the immortal qi in Su Qing'er's body was not weak at all. At the very least, it would be extremely easy for him to travel the rest of the way. After entering the sword sheath, Su Yun's body swayed as he flew towards the sword discourse arena. Shangguan Mei Yang looked around uneasily, and at a place extremely far away from her, Ling Qingyu, who was dressed in white and barefooted, was sitting on the ground, her face filled with dissatisfaction as she stared at Shangguan Mei Yang. Su Yun, you're here. Probably because she was being stared at by Ling Qingyu, when Shangguan Mei Yang saw Su Yun flying over, it was as if she had seen her savior, and anxiously went forward to welcome him. But just as she approached Su Yun, who had landed on the sword discourse arena, staggered and fell forward. Seeing that, Shangguan Mei Yang was startled. Before she could even reach out to support him, she was pressed down by the tall and strong man. She staggered back a few steps and was about to use her qi to push him back, but when she saw his pale face, she didn't dare to use her qi in fear of hurting him. Ah! Suddenly, Shangguan Mei Yang cried out softly, her face instantly flushed red, her body trembled, she lost her balance and fell to the ground. The two of them rolled together, stuck together, unable to get up again. Upon seeing that, Ling Qingyu's eyes widened. The current Su Yun was pressing down on top of Shangguan Mei Yang's delicate body. Her pink hair was in a mess. She closed her eyes tightly, not daring to look. Her face was already so red that it was dripping with blood. Su Yun, on the other hand, half opened his eyes, gasping for breath as he looked at Shangguan Mei Yang below him, and what made Ling Qingyu even angrier was that his right hand was currently completely covering Shangguan Mei Yang's chest. Shangguan Mei Yang was startled. Only then did she feel the difference in front of her chest. Her small face immediately became strange, her pink lips trembled uncontrollably, her eyes wide open. "You guys!" Ling Qingyu called out with a trembling voice. "Ugh!" Su Yun then realized that something was wrong and immediately stood up, but he was too weak, and when he stood up, he almost fell down. Seeing that, Shangguan Mei Yang actually laid on the ground, not daring to move at all. No matter how thick-skinned Su Yun was, he would still feel embarrassed at this time. He rubbed his nose and said awkwardly, "Miss Shangguan, I'm sorry, this was an accident." Shangguan Mei Yang's eyes were still wide open, and after a long while, she slowly crawled up, but her body was still trembling slightly. Obviously she had not recovered from the accident just now. Shangguan Mei Yang did not say a word. She quietly walked to the side and sat down, but her head was extremely low. No one knew what she was thinking. Su Yun coughed to hide the awkwardness, of course. He also felt an extremely stimulating gaze coming from the side. He did not look at the owner of the gaze, but instead sat down cross-legged and meditated. Humph! How could Ling Qingyu not know what Su Yun was thinking? She snorted, her small hands hugging her breasts. She turned her head and looked into the distance, too lazy to look at Su Yun anymore. At this time, silence was naturally the best choice. Su Yun secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He slowly adjusted the immortal meridian in his body, soothed the immortal eyes, and allowed them to have more energy to produce more immortal qi. After breaking through, the immortal eyes and immortal meridian were even sturdier than before. If it was in the sky martial continent, the immortal meridian in Su Yun's body would be enough to split open a mountain. But in the immortal world, this level of strength was clearly not enough. His body glowed with light, and his pale face became much rosier as time passed. The light was extremely dazzling, as though his entire person was about to ascend. Shangguan Mei Yang, who was at the side, felt the slightly dazzling light, and could not help but raise her eyes to look at Su Yun. "What's going on? What is Su Yun doing?" Shangguan Mei Yang could not help but ask. "He's recovering his immortal qi." Ling Qingyu glanced at Shangguan Mei Yang and said indifferently, "Recover immortal qi? But what was going on with the surging immortal qi around him? Is this the immortal qi in his body? If that's the case, then how much immortal qi does he have in his body?" Shangguan Mei Yang could not believe her eyes. She could feel the immortal qi floating around Su Yun. The immortal qi was so dense that even Su Qinger could not emit it. According to what Su Yun had said before, Su Yun's cultivation should not have exceeded the 5th stage of the spirit profound immortal, but why did he give her such a feeling? Shangguan Mei Yang's eyes were a little confused. She realized that she could not see through this guy anymore, after an unknown period of time. The halo on the surface of Su Yun's body started to dim, and not long after, he exhaled and opened his eyes again. "How do you feel, Su Yun?" Ling Qingyu said indifferently. "Very good," Su Yun replied awkwardly. Although Ling Qingyu had taken the initiative to talk to him, he had a guilty conscience in his heart, so he was naturally very guilty. "Humph, the qi in this sword sheath's world is almost tailor-made for you. If you recover your qi here, the spirit qi that is filled with the sword world will cooperate with you to absorb it. Although it is the immortal world outside, to you, this is the best place for you to recover," Ling Qingyu said coldly. Hearing that, Su Yun was shocked. "Qingyu, why haven't I heard you mention it before? Furthermore, I have never felt the mysteries of this sword sheath's world before?" Unexpectedly, after saying that, Ling Qingyu hesitated for a moment, then sighed. That's because the change in the sword world happened recently. Ling Qingyu's expression was not right. Su Yun's heart was slightly shocked, and he asked softly, "Qingyu, did something happen? You don't need to know so much for now. Hurry up and tell me. You should take care of the immortal pool first. Since there's something going on, you should at least let me know. Otherwise, if you keep me hanging, I won't be able to handle the matters at the immortal pool well, and I will still be distracted." Su Yun said stubbornly. Ling Qingyu understood Su Yun very well. She knew his personality. If she did not say anything, he would only be more worried and distracted. She thought for a moment, then said in a low voice, "The birth of the sword sheath's world is to suppress that world-destroying sword, and its change is naturally for that world-destroying sword." Evil sword? Su Yun frowned. Recently, the evil sword has been loosening up too much. The sword in the sword sheath almost spontaneously released its own sword force to suppress the evil sword. No wonder when I used the death sword recently, I feel that it's not as easy as before. As the lead sword, the death sword naturally bears the greatest pressure. Its sword force is being consumed too quickly, and after being forcefully taken out by you, the power it can unleash is probably not even comparable to the previous 3 levels. The reason why you are slow to notice it is because your strength has increased too quickly. How is the evil sword now? It's temporarily suppressed, you don't have to worry. It's being suppressed now, but it can't be suppressed forever. The sword force of these swords will be used up one day. If this continues, the evil sword will break free from the restraints of the sword sheath and reappear in this world. Qingyu, tell me how to continue suppressing the evil sword. Do you want to collect other famous swords and stuff them into the sword sheath? Su Yun said solemnly. The evil sword destroying the world, no matter who it was, Su Yun did not want to see it. Even if it was not for the greater good, just for himself, he could not ignore this matter. Furthermore, the evil sword was by his side. If it were to explode, no one would be able to save him. Although it's possible to fill in the famous swords, it's too late now. The swords in the sword sheath are almost considered a whole body. Even if you find other powerful famous swords to fill in the sword sheath, I'm afraid it will have the opposite effect. Not only will it have no effect, it will even cause the other divine swords to resist. Ling Qinyu shook her head. Right now, the arrangement of the swords in the sword sheath is like a gigantic sword formation, and in the center of the sword formation is the evil sword. No matter which sword you put in, it will definitely destroy the sword formation's power. Then why did I take out the sword? You taking out the sword will indeed have an effect, but it's not that big. It's just that as you continue to take out the sword, the seal on the sword formation will loosen. This is also why I told you not to use the sword sheath as much as possible, because the evil sword's evil qi is becoming more and more violent. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned. He closed his eyes and thought for a moment, then finally exhaled, and said softly, "Seems like I have to contact the sword ancestor as soon as possible." Chapter 11-14. Compared to the limitless sword sheath, Su Yun believed that sword ancestor would definitely understand more than him or even Ling Qinyu, especially regarding the matter of the evil sword. If it was him, he would definitely have a way. Let's put the matter of the evil sword aside for now. Su Yun, you should quickly recover your qi. I think it won't be long before Qing'er uses up all of her qi. You have to deal with the people from the immortal court and the other experts. If the immortal qi is not abundant, then it will be over. Ling Qinyu said. Su Yun nodded. He did not dare to speak anymore. He immediately sat down cross-legged and continued to recuperate. Ling Qinyu glanced at Su Yun and actually walked over, stepping behind Su Yun. She extended her white hand and pressed it on Su Yun's back. Su Yun was startled. He suddenly opened his eyes, looked at Ling Qinyu who was behind him, and asked, "Qinyu, what are you doing?" Your immortal chi has been consumed too much, and you will not be able to recover in a short period of time. I have been cultivating in the sword sheath for this period of time, and the chi in my body is abundant, so I will pour it into your body to help you recover faster. Although my cultivation is not high, and my chi is not pure enough, it will still be of some use. This. Su Yun wanted to reject, but just then, Ling Qinyu spoke out again. If your chi is not enough and we meet with an accident later, then none of us will be able to escape. Su Yun, I am not doing this for you, I am doing this for myself, understand? Since Ling Qinyu had already said that, what reason did Su Yun have to reject her? When the chi entered his body, Su Yun immediately felt warm all over. The chi was not considered dense, but it was extremely comfortable, and when it flowed into the immortal meridian, it was like a clear spring. After a moment, Ling Qinyu raised her hand, and Su Yun started to recuperate. However, a shocking scene appeared. He realized that his immortal eyes seemed to have been stimulated by something like a fountain. They frantically sent immortal chi into the immortal meridian. The immortal chi was endless, thick and huge. In the blink of an eye, most of the immortal meridian in his body was filled. Su Yun was stunned. He could not explain this strange phenomenon at all. Su Yun, what's wrong? Ling Qinyu, who was at the side, asked. Su Yun looked at his own hand. His eyes lost focus. After a moment, he shook his head and said, I don't know why, but the immortal chi in my body is suddenly full. Really? Hearing that, Ling Qinyu smirked and said, What did I say before? This sword sheath's world is indeed extraordinary. Those sword energies are just right for you. Absorb them well, and you might even be able to break through. Is it because of the sword force emitted when the divine sword suppressed the ominous sword? Su Yun muttered, but he could not figure it out. But since he couldn't figure it out, he didn't bother thinking about it. He stood up, took out a few pills, and swallowed them. Then, he waved his hand and the space in front of him distorted. An image appeared in front of him. It was the image of what was happening outside the sword case. At the moment, Su Qing'er was still frantically rushing forward. The clouds around her were almost shapeless, but her forehead was covered in perspiration, her small face was as pale as paper, her small mouth was slightly open, and she was already gasping for breath. Su Yun stared at Qing'er's eyes for a moment, then said softly, Qing'er is about to be exhausted. I believe that we should not be far from the location of the immortal pond. Qingyu, Miss Shangguan, you two stay here. I will go and change Qing'er in, leave the rest to me. With that said, Su Yun leaped out of the sword sheath's world. Not long after, Su Qing'er fell in. Seeing that, Shangguan Mei Yang, who was in the distance, immediately flew over, caught her and slowly placed her on the sword discourse arena. Everything was as Su Yun had expected. Su Qing'er's speed and efficiency did not disappoint Su Yun. When her chi was about to be exhausted, Su Yun was already close to the immortal pond. This area was called the Cold Cloud Star Group, and it was a secluded area to the south of the immortal world. There were no immortal sects nearby, only 2 immortal cities for scattered immortals. It was said that the clouds in this area were like ice, hard and cold, and even immortals would not be able to endure it if they touched the ice clouds. Ordinary immortal clouds could actually pass through, but thick clouds were extremely difficult to pass through, and ice clouds were even more impossible. In this cold cloud, there were even a large number of flowing stone stars. These stone stars were affected by the magnetic field that appeared out of nowhere in the area and collided everywhere in the ice clouds, like arrows flying randomly. What made the immortals curious was that the ice clouds were like air against the stone stars. They were able to freely travel through the ice clouds, and it was impossible to guard against them. The penetrating power of the stone stars was extremely strong. Anyone below the 5th stage of the Spirit Profound Immortal stage would be able to directly pass through the chest, and even those above would find it hard to defend. Therefore, the Cold Cloud Stellar Cluster was a place of utter danger for immortals. Ordinary immortals wouldn't approach this region. Of course, behind the danger was often a coveted harvest. It was precisely because the cold cloud star group was too dangerous that there were not many immortals here. Other than a few dilapidated immortal cities in the surroundings, there were almost no immortals here, so in the star group, there were a large number of spirit stone mines that had yet to be mined. The spirit stones in these spirit stone mines were extremely pure, and could be used to forge excellent immortal equipment. The moment Su Yun entered the cold cloud star group, he was corroded by a bone-piercing cold, and his entire body started to tremble. Even with the protection of the imperial battle robe, he was still unable to endure it. He was walking on the most famous starless path in the cold cloud star group. This place was not covered by the magnetic field, so the stone star would not appear on this path. He flew at high speed, and at the same time, his eyes were constantly looking around. According to the information he got from Gongsun Lang, the immortal pond was located at the end of the cold cloud star group. This place was not far from the end. In this case, he should be meeting the people of the immortal court very soon. Suddenly, Su Yun sensed something, his eyebrows twitched. He immediately activated the imperial battle robe, and his body suddenly became transparent. On the road ahead, a figure suddenly rushed over. It was a man with short hair and wearing gray armor. The man's face was glowing, and he must have used a spell to conceal his appearance. He held a saber in one hand and flew forward like a madman. His body was covered in blood, and the armor on his body was in tatters. He looked like he was in a sorry state. However, compared to this person, Su Yun was more concerned about the powerful auras that were quickly approaching from behind. Several golden light swords suddenly flew over from the sky. They twisted in the air and landed in front of the short-haired man who was running away. The man's expression changed. He quickly turned around, intending to bypass the swords. However, these sharp swords moved in an instant. A circle of golden sword images spun out, like the mouth of a fierce beast, directly swallowing the man. A moment later, the golden sword quickly shrank, transforming into a ray of golden light that pierced through the man's heart, flying towards the few auras behind him. When he looked at the man again, he was already frozen in place, like a stone sculpture, still floating in place. Seeing that, Su Yun, who was hiding at the side, darkened. That golden sword was also an exquisite sword control technique. The man was already dead, and there was no way for him to survive. His body began to move, and blood spurted out like a fountain. Pieces of his body began to peel off, and in the blink of an eye, his entire body turned into thousands of pieces of meat, falling down. A perfect and lively soul appeared in front of him along with the falling pieces of meat. As soon as the soul appeared, it wanted to escape again. However, not long after it moved, a few figures blocked its path. Ah! The soul let out a high-pitched scream, but before it could make much sound, one of the figures grabbed the soul with a palm and pinched him over. Su Yun immediately sized up the attire of these people, embroidered clothes and white jade. They were all people of the immortal court. What's going on? Did this person do something wrong? The people of the immortal court didn't arrest him, but chose to kill him? Su Yun was puzzled. However, the person of the immortal court who grabbed the soul did not hesitate at all, and directly tore the soul apart, leaving no survivors. This method was truly shocking. At this moment, the figures on the other side spoke. "This is the last one, right?" "Yes." "That's good, otherwise we won't be able to report to the Lord. Anyone who dares to spy on the celestial pool, kill them all, no survivors." "Yes." "Seal everything around the celestial pool. News about the celestial pool will be announced 3 days later. I just received news that the participants of the celestial pool are already on their way, and are estimated to arrive early tomorrow morning. When they arrive, immediately send them into the celestial pool, and nurture experts for the immortal court." "Not leaving any spots?" This time, there's no need to leave any. We will take all the spots, and after we absorb the miraculous effects of the celestial pool, we will immediately leave, and then announce the location. When the other celestial sects find this place first, we will slowly come here. If that's the case, the celestial pool competition this time will not be able to continue. Lord, you mean, the immortal court will secretly use up the celestial pool? That's right. But the guardian beast in front of the celestial pool seems different from before. We haven't made a move yet, and judging from its aura, it's not easy to deal with. Not easy to deal with? Cold snort came out. I don't care what method you use, but you must kill this guardian beast before tomorrow. You can't delay any part of the plan. If anything goes wrong, then you'll have to take your heads to the Lord. Yes, yes. A few voices were filled with fear and trepidation. Enough nonsense, let's go back first. With that, one of them took the lead and flew forward. However, before he flew far, he suddenly turned around and scanned the surroundings, especially where Su Yun was, and could not help but take a few more glances. Lord, what's wrong? The person stared at the surroundings for a moment, then said, Nothing. With that said, he flew far away. Su Yun, who was in the darkness, stared at the people who flew away, and after a moment, his footsteps moved slightly, and he also followed. Chapter 11:15. The strength of these immortal court people should be at the fourth stage of the spirit profound immortal realm, and to Su Yun, they were already considered incredible people, but in this immortal court operation, they could only be said to be low-level immortal court people. Because according to the information that Xiao Chua had provided to Su Yun, the immortals that the immortal court had sent to be in charge of the immortal pond this time, were all at least at the fifth stage of the spirit profound immortal realm. For a sect like the immortal seeking sect, an existence at the fifth stage of the spirit profound immortal realm was already the leader of a sect, but in the immortal court, he was just a court member and envoy who listened to everything. Although Su Yun had learned a lot about the immortal court and its people from Xiao Chua, that was only from Xiao Chua's point of view. Su Yun did not know anything about the other level of envoys, but Su Yun was sure that the people sent this time could not represent the overall strength of the immortal court. These immortals quickly flew towards the location of the immortal pond, following the main road, not stopping for a moment. When they reached the center of the starless road, these people suddenly turned around and actually crashed into the ice cloud. Su Yun's eyes turned cold, but when he saw those people crashing into the ice cloud, it was as if the ice cloud was nothing, their bodies directly passed through, and there were no stone stars flying around. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately understood, the frozen clouds here were not real, they were all illusions, they were all just illusions, they were just illusions. However, what made Su Yun even more surprised was, why would there be illusions in this place? This place should have been a real land of ice clouds. Even if he wanted to use illusions, it would be impossible, unless he wanted to shatter the ice clouds there, only then would he be able to use illusions, and logically speaking, that place was a dead end. How could anyone enter? Su Yun carefully leaned over, hesitated for a moment, and finally chose to charge in. The seemingly cold and hard ice clouds were, in fact, just a layer of illusion. When people entered it, they would not encounter any obstruction. Instead, after crashing into it, their field of vision immediately widened. Taking a closer look, it was actually a completely different world. Behind this illusion, there was actually a long passageway. This passageway was completely within the ice clouds, as if it had been forcefully opened by someone using magic power. It was especially mystical. Not only that, around this passageway, on the surface of the ice clouds, there were a large number of sealing boundaries. They were like skeletons that supported this passageway. The stone stars that were flying everywhere in the ice clouds crashed into these sealing boundaries, but they were actually unable to break them. This should be the work of the people of the immortal court. It seemed that they had known about the immortal pond a long time ago, and had quickly set up such a secret passageway. Judging from the ceiling barrier on the passageway, it didn't seem to be able to completely block the impact of the stone star. Some of the barriers were already bulging, and were not far from breaking. It could be seen that this passageway was only used temporarily. Where does the passage lead to? Did the person who was killed escape from here? Who was that person? Why was he killed? Layers of doubt shrouded Su Yun's heart. He took a deep breath, stared ahead, and slowly walked forward. This passageway was so hidden, and it was located in the ice clouds. It was impossible for ordinary immortals to find it. He slowly walked forward, and discovered that the barrier that covered the interior of the tunnel could actually completely block out the aura inside the tunnel. Forget about the outside, it was difficult to even smell any immortal chi or immortal intent inside. Previously, he had heard from those people that the immortal court planned to completely monopolize the immortal pond this time. Looking at this tunnel now, it was most likely true. After walking for about half an incense stick of time, he finally walked out of the tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, there was a colorful halo. Su Yun stood inside the tunnel and looked at the colorful halo, his expression extremely solemn. What should he do now? Should he walk out of the tunnel? Or should he return the way he came? If he chose to walk out, then what would the other end of the tunnel look like? What if there were many experts of the immortal court? Su Yun's understanding of the people of the immortal court was too little, especially the experts of the immortal court. There were only a few people from the immortal court that he had come into contact with. Other than Kong Ling and Yuan Tianya, who had already been killed, there were only Luo Wuling and the others. However, these people could only be considered as lower-class people in the immortal court. Su Yun did not know a single one of the middle-class or even the high-class people. Even the lord above Gongsun Lang could only be considered as a middle-class person. At this moment, Su Yun's mind was in a fierce struggle. In fact, his biggest enemy in this immortal pond operation was not the guardian beast of the immortal pond, nor was it the unknown experts of the other immortal sects, but the people of the immortal court. The current immortal court had the advantage, and the immortal pool was most likely going to fall into their hands, but the importance of the immortal pool to Su Yun was self-evident. If he could obtain the fortune of the immortal pool, it would definitely be settled once and for all. Not only would Su Yun obtain absolute strength, even Qinger would be able to get rid of the difficulties caused by the divine spirit body, and would no longer be threatened by anyone. He looked at the sword sheath hanging on his waist, then looked at the multicolored halo in front of him. After a while, he activated all the immortal energy in his body and gathered it all on the imperial battle robe on his body. When his body was almost completely transparent and without any aura, he carefully walked towards the halo. As he neared the halo, the light that was emitted was so piercing that Su Yun found it hard to open his eyes. He endured the discomfort and walked forward. However, just as he was about to walk out of the tunnel, a few weak auras suddenly appeared in front of him. Su Yun was shocked. He immediately stuck to the wall of the tunnel and did not move. After a few breaths, 2 or 3 figures walked out from the tunnel. Su Yun held his breath and stared at the few of them. The halo of light dissipated, revealing their appearances. Looking at them, they were all from the immortal court, their auras were restrained, they were dressed in armor, with large blades and white jade hanging from their waists. Like guards, they walked forward in an orderly manner. There were a total of 4 of them, all of them expressionless. Although I can't sense the auras of these fellows, their killing intent is so heavy. The group of people walked to the middle of the tunnel and stopped. They split into 2 groups, one on the left and one on the right. After they stood in place, a thick layer of soil suddenly condensed on their bodies. A moment later, all of them had turned into statues. Seeing this scene, Su Yun was startled. Are these the guards of the immortal court? The soil on their bodies seemed to be a layer of defense. This defense was probably second only to the Imperial battle robe. With these 4 people here, if anyone wanted to barge in, it would not be that easy. But why did they only send people to guard at this time? Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. If he had been a step slower, it would not have been so easy. Since the 4 of them had become statues, he could not be bothered to waste any more time and carefully walked out of the tunnel. However, when the light in front of his eyes gradually faded, the scene that entered his line of sight truly shocked Su Yun. This was actually a huge empty area. There were no ice clouds in the surroundings, and the sky was completely colorful. However, in an extremely distant place, there was a waterfall-like stream of light. This stream of light descended from the sky, piercing through the sky and going straight down. It was impossible to see what the bottom looked like, and around this stream of light were countless people from the Immortal Court. At a rough glance, there were at least a few thousand people. They were all busy setting up formations and building cloud platforms, as if they were preparing for something. In front of the flowing light, a large number of armored Immortal Court experts with terrifying auras had already gathered. Each of them was staring at the flowing light with a solemn expression, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Behind them, there were still many experts of the Immortal Court rushing towards them. Some of them were holding on to magic treasures, while others were holding on to scrolls. From the looks of it, they were going to deal with something. The first thing that came to Su Yun's mind was the guardian beast. Looking at their direction, they were facing the stream of light. Could it be that the immortal pool was behind the stream of light? Could this be the Cliff of Immortals? Su Yun's heart suddenly jumped. If that was the case, then this place was the location of the immortal pool? But this place seemed to be different from what he had found out. Wait, if this was the location of the immortal pool, then why did the people of the Immortal Court go through so much trouble to dig a tunnel? It wasn't that there was no path to the immortal pool. Why would the Immortal Court do such a thing? Unless this place was not the front of the immortal pool. It was the back of it. Most of the people rushed to the immortal pool. There was only one thought in their minds, and that was how to defeat the guardian beast and enter the immortal pool to enjoy the good fortune of heaven and earth. No one would go around the immortal pool and come to the other side, because there was no need, and no one would think that someone would be hiding here. The people of the Immortal Court control the other side of the immortal pool. In fact, they already have the immortal pool in their hand. They are clear about the situation in front of the immortal pool. If anyone wants to defeat the guardian beast and enter the immortal pool, they can take measures in time to ensure that the other party cannot enter. This way, unless it is a legendary super expert, no one will be able to take down the immortal pool. Who would have thought that the Immortal Court had such a plan? Su Yun frowned. If that was the case, the situation was not optimistic. Who is it? Take him down. Suddenly, a few shouts came from behind the stream of light, and the entire Immortal Court was in an uproar. The armored soldiers immediately sealed the waterfall of light, and looked like they were ready to fight. Their movements were extremely fast, well-trained, and terrifyingly high, just like robots. Su Yun frowned and immediately touched the sword sheath. At the same time, he retreated, ready to take action. But at this moment, the people of the Immortal Court gathered in front of the stream of light all flew into the stream of light. After a while, they flew out again, but the two people at the front were holding a person in black clothes. His face was glowing, and he had used a disguise technique. They directly flew towards the cloud platform in the center. Looking at the person's clothes, he did not seem to be from the Immortal Court. Chapter 11:16. If not for the protection of the Imperial battle robe, it would have been impossible for Su Yun to sneak in so easily, but that guy seemed to be different. He did not know that there were so many experts of the Immortal Court behind the Immortal Pond, and before he could even react, he was captured. Su Yun carefully walked towards the stream of light, and when he was halfway there, the Lord on the cloud platform had already started to interrogate the person who was captured. "Who are you?" A deep voice came out from the cloud platform. When Su-Yun heard the voice, he couldn't help but stop in his tracks. He looked towards the cloud platform and saw a man in a golden cloak standing on the cloud platform. There were 2 huge stone lion statues on the cloud platform, and a golden chair was placed in the middle. 2 rows of people from the immortal court were standing on both sides of the chair. This man was like an emperor sitting on the chair. Under the golden cloak was a pair of golden eyes that were full of majesty. When this man was brought up, a female immortal standing at the front immediately waved her hand and cast a technique, dispelling the immortal technique that covered this man's face. Immediately, this person's true appearance appeared in front of everyone. Gongsun Lang. When Su-Yun saw this person, he was extremely shocked. He never thought that the person who was captured was actually Gongsun Lang. Su-Yun knew that Gongsun Lang had already arrived, but he did not expect that this guy would actually be captured by the immortal court for no reason. At this moment Gongsun Lang was trembling in fear, his entire body was trembling crazily, he could barely stand up straight, he half knelt on the ground, his head lowered, not daring to look at the person in front of him. This person, I seem to have seen him somewhere before? An immortal at the side sized up Gongsun Lang, rubbing his chin as he thought. Where have I seen him before? The person sitting on the golden chair said indifferently, "Raise your head." Yes. Yes, Gongsun Lang's lips trembled as he raised his head. "Who are you?" The person on the golden chair repeated himself. However, these 5 simple words were like a final warning. If Gongsun Lang still did not answer this time, perhaps his soul would completely dissipate. Gong, 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 gong. Gongsun Lang, this little one is called Gongsun Lang, is our immortal court's spirit scout. Gongsun Lang lied on the ground, his voice trembling as he shouted anxiously. "You're from the immortal court?" Everyone was astonished, but the person on the golden chair remained calm and collected. "Since you're from the immortal court, why did you sneak here? Your cultivation is so low, and you're not one of us. I don't think the immortal court sent you here, right? Tell me, how did you know the location of the celestial pond, and who sent you here? What is your purpose for coming here? I want all of you to give me an honest explanation." A tall and muscular immortal kicked Gongsun Lang to the ground and asked sternly. Gongsun Lang rolled and almost fell off the cloud platform. He looked extremely miserable, but facing so many experts, he did not dare to breathe loudly, nor did he dare to be careless. He turned around again, laid on the ground, and shouted, "Lord, please spare my life. This lowly one is only here to do business. I didn't know that this is the immortal pool. Please spare my life. This lowly one accidentally entered this place." Gongsun Lang shouted in fear and shock. His voice was extremely miserable, but Su-Yun was not interested in him at all. Taking advantage of the fact that most of the people's attention was on him, entering the flowing light at this time was the best choice. Just now, when these people entered the flowing light to capture Gongsun Lang, Su-Yun had already paid attention to the flowing light, and realized that if a person entered it, it would cause ripples. The imperial battle robe only completely concealed him, and did not turn his body into nothingness. If he were to enter just like that, it would definitely cause a commotion, causing the people of the immortal court to notice his existence. He could only wait for these armored warriors to enter together and then sneak past them. Su-Yun originally wanted to go back the way he came, go around the tunnel, and walk to the front of the immortal pool, but the tunnel was already blocked by the statue warriors, so it was impossible to turn back now. In the end, Gongsun Lang was just a small character, so the Lord on the golden chair would not waste too much time on him. However, he was rather curious as to how Gongsun Lang knew the location of the immortal pool. After all, the matter of the immortal pool was a secret in the immortal court, and non-participants were not allowed to know about it. However, there was no need for the man on the golden chair to do the interrogation himself. He waved his hand and said indifferently, "Lul Liao, I'll leave this guy to you. Let him tell me everything he knows. I want to know who sent him here and who told him the location of the immortal pool." "Yes, my lord." An immortal at the side immediately cupped his fists and replied, then directly grabbed Gongsun Lang, who was on the ground, and flew to the side. Not long after, Gongsun Lang's screams started to ring out. "It's getting late. The guardian beast this time is much more special than in the past. Since everyone is here, let's let everyone take action. We must take care of the guardian beast in the shortest amount of time possible and open the immortal pool." The man on the golden chair spoke again. "Yes, sir." Everyone responded. Following that, a horn sounded in the surroundings. The armored soldiers standing in front of the flowing light moved. They directly flew forward, pulled out the blades at their waists, and crashed into the flowing light. Immediately, a large number of ripples floated up from the flowing light. The power of these armored warriors was so strong that it was not impossible for them to take down the guardian beast. Su Yun quietly approached, taking advantage of the time when the ripples were the most concentrated. He crashed into the ripples. At this time, the lord sitting on the golden chair suddenly opened his eyes and looked towards the flowing light, as if he was deep in thought. The people at the side looked at him curiously. "What's wrong, my lord?" someone asked respectfully. "Nothing." The man on the golden chair shook his head lightly, but a light flickered in the depths of his eyes. Crash! A burst of multicolored light floated above his eyes. Su Yun could not help but close his eyes, and when the multicolored light weakened, waves of fragrance assaulted his nostrils. He carefully opened his eyes and looked around. He discovered that behind the stream of light, there was actually a vast expanse of green grass. Flowers bloomed on the grass, spreading in all directions. However, around the grass, there were many huge and resplendent diamonds. They were like walls, completely sealing off this place, and above them was the resplendent waterfall of flowing light. Su Yun was startled, but quickly regained his senses, and anxiously dodged to the side. More and more armored warriors came out from behind the stream of light. When they came out of the stream of light, they lined up in a row and began to activate their immortal technique. They were either prepared or used spells that could increase their abilities or activated scrolls. For a moment, light shone in all directions, and it was extremely beautiful. Su Yun's gaze shifted, looking towards the center of the area. He discovered that at the place where the waterfall of light fell, there was a huge round hole that looked like it was made of diamond, and white light shot out from the hole, like a white dragon. An indescribable mystical aura floated out along with the white light. This must be the place that led to the immortal pool. After all of these armored warriors arrived, they did not hesitate much. After the preparations were completed, they all headed towards the round hole. Just as they were about to approach, a heaven-shaking roar erupted from the round hole. Roar! It was like a dragon's roar. Everything in the area shook, and even the stream of light seemed to be swaying. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice, but they did not reveal the slightest bit of fear. Immediately after, a huge black figure squeezed out from the round hole. A wave of power spread out, but it was not considered strong. The first thing that appeared was its head. It was a head that was as big as a small hill, with round copper eyes and a single black horn on its forehead. Its entire body was covered in fish scales, and its ears were as big as an elephant's ears. Next was its body, which was especially sturdy, shaped like a lion or a tiger, with 4 claws, all of which were like pillars of the heavens. Finally was its tail, which was swinging wildly behind it, and the fur at the end of its tail was like a sharp blade, extremely sharp and powerful. It looked like a qilin, but there were many places where it was completely different from a qilin. It was Su Yun's first time seeing such a creature, and he believed that the people from the immortal court were the same. It was born from the immortal pool, but it did not have the slightest bit of immortal intent. Instead, it was more like a demonic creature, especially its ruthless aura, which made people shiver uncontrollably. Who would be able to associate such an existence with the immortal pool? Are you the bunch of reckless people who came here to disturb my sweet dreams? The creature's bell-like eyes stared at the people from the immortal court, and white gas was spat out from its huge nostrils, looking like it was in a rage. Go, if you can't subdue it, just kill it. We must get rid of it in the shortest time possible. The leader of the people from the immortal court shouted, and without any superfluous words, he took the lead and rushed towards the creature. The rest of the people immediately followed, and everyone turned into light beams, shooting towards the creature like arrows. The creature was enraged and roared furiously, "Bastard, you dare to covet my immortal water! Covet my immortal water! You even want to harm my life! I will definitely not let you go!" After saying that, the creature opened its mouth full of sharp teeth, and spat out a jet of pitch-black flames. The people from the immortal court were immediately devoured by the flames. However, after the flames passed, the people from the immortal court didn't suffer much damage, and they directly approached the creature, slashing at its body with their snow-white blades. Not long after, a shrill scream burst out from the creature's mouth. So powerful! Su Yun overestimated the creature's strength, and underestimated the fighting strength of the people from the immortal court. He never expected the creature to be so weak, and in just a few moves, it was completely suppressed, with almost no room to fight back. The legendary guardian beast was only this powerful? If that was the case, wouldn't the guardian beast be useless? He frowned. If the creature was defeated just like that, then the immortal pool would be cleared, and it would really be controlled by the people from the immortal court, and he wouldn't have any chance. This wouldn't do. Didn't he put in so much effort for the immortal pool's water? How could he just give it to the immortal court like that? Immediately, Su Yun secretly touched the sword sheath, and slowly approached the creature and the people from the immortal court. Chapter 11:17. Although the guardian beast was enormous, it couldn't withstand the attacks of these elites of the immortal court at all. The blades that were darting in all directions were aimed at its body along with the cold light. Immortal chi shot out in all directions and overflowed with killing intent. The guardian beast was no match for these immortal court soldiers. These soldiers couldn't be described as soldiers. They were like a team. When they fought, there were rules and regulations. Some of them were the main attackers, some of them were breaking the defense, some of them were observing the situation from the side, and some of them were analyzing the opponent's weakness. All of them didn't just charge forward blindly, but had a clear division of labor and tacit cooperation. Although the guardian beast was facing thousands of people, in fact, it was equivalent to a single person. A terrifying existence that no one knew how powerful it was. The guardian beast had already lost the ability to resist. At this moment, its entire body was covered with hideous blade wounds. Green blood flowed out crazily, and it looked extremely miserable. Seeing this, Su Yun looked towards the people of the immortal court and immediately locked onto one of the immortals. This immortal was dressed differently from the others. He wore a brocade robe and wore a long crown on his head. He looked rather imposing, especially when he held a flag in his hand instead of a weapon. He stood at the highest point and waved the flag in his hand from time to time, as if he was giving orders. To catch bandits, first catch the leader. It would be best if he attacked the commander at this time. But facing so many experts of the immortal court, and the guardian beast was obviously not strong enough, if his identity was exposed, would he be a match for these people of the immortal court? Su Yun didn't know. But now that things had come to this, he had to give it a try. If he just let the treasure of the immortal pool be given to the immortal court, he wouldn't be able to accept it. But at this moment, whoosh! A strong spurting sound suddenly reverberated in the area. Then, from the entrance of the immortal pool behind the guardian beast, a large amount of white gas suddenly spewed out. These gas flew out and directly collided with the guardian beast. The body of the guardian beast was instantly enveloped by the gas, and then it turned into a huge gray cocoon. The experts of the Immortal Court who were surrounding the guardian beast and attacking frantically found that their blades could no longer break through the guardian beast's defense. The cocoon that wrapped around its body was especially terrifying. No matter how much immortal chi he used, he couldn't leave even the slightest trace on it. Seeing that, Su Yun was startled, and immediately stopped moving, carefully standing in the distance and watching. The guards of the Immortal Court also felt something was wrong. They hurriedly retreated and gathered together under the command of the person holding the flag. They activated their immortal arts while observing the situation over there. Wha! A strange sound rang out, and the light in the area suddenly dimmed. A gust of cold wind blew. The light gradually turned grayish-white, and all the flowers and grass in the area withered. The smell of death filled the entire space. Su Yun was stunned. The experts of the Immortal Court were also astonished, as if they couldn't figure out what was going on. A large number of cracks appeared on the huge cocoon, spreading outwards like a spider web. As more and more cracks spread, the cocoon also began to loosen. For some reason, the people found that the temperature in this place had become extremely cold, as if a drop of water had turned into ice. A terrifying aura filled the area. Patter! Finally, an ear-piercing sound rang out from the entrance of the immortal pool. Then, the right side of the huge cocoon split and peeled off. When that piece fell off, the scene inside was immediately revealed. Everyone's eyes immediately caught this terrifying sign. Looking at the inside of the cocoon, it was no longer the strange image of the guardian beast from before. Now, its entire body was emitting black chi. This black chi was cold and ruthless, extremely similar to devil chi, but it was not devil chi. Its body was almost enveloped by the devil chi, the scales on its body turned black, its limbs became thick and huge, and its eyes became blood-red. Especially its fangs and the horn on its forehead, it was now long and sharp, and even slightly curved. From the time it formed to the time it broke out of the cocoon, it had only lasted for less than half an incense stick of time. However, in this short period of time, the guardian beast had changed so much that it was extremely shocking. Not only its appearance, but its aura and strength. It was hard to believe. The Immortal Court experts tried to use the Immortal Barrier to isolate the chi, but to no avail. This chi seemed to be able to penetrate all defenses, straight into the bones, and even the Imperial battle robe on Su Yun's body could not resist its corrosion. What was going on? In such a short period of time, the guardian beast had undergone such a tremendous change? Su Yun could not believe what he was feeling. Compared to the guardian beast from before, the current guardian beast's strength was probably more than 10 times stronger. The gigantic ball of black fog broke out of the cocoon and crawled out. Every time its limbs touched the ground, the entire ground would tremble. The pair of green eyes behind the pitch-black fog stared straight at the Immortal Court expert. A deep roar erupted from the pitch-black guardian beast's mouth. Following that, the gigantic creature leaped high and landed in the middle of the Immortal Court, crazily swinging its terrifyingly sharp claws. Streams of death aura crazily revolved, like vines surrounding everyone. If Su Yun was not far away, he would have been affected by this strange aura. These people were the elites of the Immortal Court after all. Even though the guardian beast had undergone such a change, they were still not afraid, nor did they panic at all. The person holding the flag retreated more than 100 meters and continued to wave the flag in his hand. Every time he moved, the soldiers attacking the guardian beast would change their formation, and the power of the formation would also be different. However, the guardian beast's strength had clearly increased by a lot. With a swipe of its claws, the Immortal Court experts were actually unable to withstand it and were directly sent flying. The immortal chi between its claws exploded, and it could actually shatter space. Its strength was terrifying, and an expert of the immortal court was accidentally struck by its claws. When his body landed on the ground, his armor was actually shattered, and a large number of cracks appeared on his skin, making him look extremely miserable. He crawled up with much difficulty, wanting to fight again, but he could not accumulate any more immortal chi. He immediately checked and found out that the immortal meridian in his body had been destroyed by the palm strike. Everyone be careful, this guardian beast has absorbed all the impurities in the immortal pool. It is the representative of the evil side of the immortal pool, and at the same time, it also possesses the power of the immortal pool. If we want to break it, we must start from its weakness and purify it with a sacred immortal technique. The person holding the flag shouted. This was the first time everyone had seen the guardian immortal beast, but he was able to quickly analyze the guardian beast's origins and weaknesses. Even Su Yun had to admit that he was inferior to him in terms of eyesight. Use the Holy Spirit immortal equipment. A loud shout rang out. The soldiers of the immortal court split into two groups. One of them directly rushed towards the guardian beast, while the others stopped where they were and took out oddly shaped magic treasures. They activated their immortal chi and infused it into the magic treasures, closed their eyes, and chanted awkwardly. When they chanted the chants, the magic treasures in their hands immediately glowed, and then with a buzzing sound, one of them threw the glowing immortal equipment in his hands into the air, and at the same time, he shouted, Tian Kuei. As soon as he shouted, the people beside him also threw the immortal equipment in their hands and shouted, Tian Kuei. Then the third person shouted, Tian Ji, Tian Xian, Tian Yong, Tian Xiong, Tian Meng. Roars sounded out continuously, and one after another, snow-white immortal equipment floated in the air. A total of 108 immortal equipment floated in the air, and in the end, they actually turned into a huge starlight diagram, and covered the guardian beast. The light diagram shone brightly, and a sacred aura poured down like a waterfall, filling the entire area. The guardian beast was obviously afraid of this power, and with a cry, it kept retreating. But how could the experts of the immortal court let it retreat just like that? The people surrounding it immediately gave up on defense, and attacked it without caring about anything else, trying to divert its attention and let the starlight diagram fall. Although the guardian beast had experienced a rebirth, it was still not a match for the people of the immortal court. When the starlight diagram covered its body, it let out a shrill scream, as though it was going to shatter the entire celestial pool area. Roar! Su Yun was shaken to the point that his entire body was swaying, but his eyes were filled with shock. These people, they actually had such a method? Then wouldn't it be easy for them to deal with the demonic cultivator? Humph! Su Yun snorted. He raised his sword and rushed forward. His target was the person holding the flag. There was no time to think. You despicable people! You covet my celestial pool water? You all deserve to die. You all deserve to die. At this moment, the guardian beast of the celestial pool suddenly let out a series of angry roars. Then, a large amount of clouds floated on its surface, and these clouds shattered the starlight diagram, forcing the experts of the immortal court to retreat, and directly turned into threads, wrapping its body again. After a moment, a huge cocoon appeared again. What's going on? At this moment, even the person holding the flag could not remain calm. Could it be that the guardian beast was going to evolve again? The previous evolution had caused its strength to increase explosively, and everyone was already feeling strenuous. Then this time, what kind of strength would it have? No one dared to imagine, and Su Yun was the same. However, he did not want to wait any longer. If the guardian beast was defeated, the celestial pool would open, and the people of the immortal court could enter at will. Even if he took advantage of the chaos to sneak in, he could not stay in the celestial pool. The only way now was to use the guardian beast to destroy the main force of the people of the immortal court, and then enter the celestial pool himself. Without the main force of the immortal court, even the people of the various celestial sects could not deal with them, so how could they deal with Su Yun? Thinking of this, his killing intent rose. He quietly took out a snow-white lotus star sword from the sword sheath, and without a sound, he stabbed towards the person holding the flag. Chapter 11:18. The sound of flesh being pierced rang out. Perhaps at the moment, this sound was not considered loud, but the low roar that accompanied it shocked the experts of the immortal court. "Who are you?" The man with the flag grabbed the lotus star sword that was stabbed into his heart with one hand, and roared while glaring at Su Yun. "How dare you? How dare you assassinate an envoy of the immortal court? Unforgivable! Kill!" The few immortal court experts behind were enraged. They immediately rushed over, their blades and swords slashing towards Su Yun. Su Yun raised his sword, and cut off a piece of meat from the flagman. Although the flagman was unable to defend against a sneak attack, and did not activate the protection in time, allowing Su Yun to easily break through his body, but this time, the flagman had already gathered all the immortal chi in his heart. If it was in the past, Su Yun would have been able to pick out his heart, but he could not right now. But no matter what, after being ambushed by Su Yun, the flagman was more or less injured, and was not in a good state. And at the other side, the immortal court people who were preparing to continue attacking the guardian beast, all turned their spears and pounced towards Su Yun. All of these immortals that blotted out the sky and covered the earth directly locked onto Su Yun. Waves after waves of astonishing killing intent, like steel needles and sharp swords, completely pierced through Su Yun. How could Su Yun dare to hesitate at all? He immediately activated the Devil Saint Devil Soul and raised his cultivation to the peak spirit god realm. Facing so many experts of the immortal court, forget about him being a 5th stage spirit profound immortal. Even if he was a 5th stage spirit profound immortal, it would still be difficult for him to defend against them. Only the Devil Saint Devil Soul could forcefully raise his strength to the peak, allowing Su Yun to have the qualifications to fight against the people of the immortal court. With the activation of the Devil Saint Devil Soul, the Devil Chi immediately wreaked havoc, as though doomsday had arrived. The entire entrance to the immortal pool was completely filled with Devil Chi, and one could not even see their fingers in front of them. "Devil Chi? You are a devil cultivator?" The man with the flag turned pale with fright. The experts of the immortal court were also stunned. None of them would have thought that there would actually be a devil cultivator that would come to the entrance of the immortal pool to cause trouble. The Devil Saint unleashed his devil soul. Terrifying chi and immense pressure that could crush one's soul followed. This was the first time for the experts of the immortal court to face such a powerful existence. They found themselves breathless. Compared to the guardian beast, this devil was much more terrifying. The devil chi flowed along the flowing light and flowed towards the temporary encampment of the immortal court. Those people who were still constructing the cloud platform magical formation stopped what they were doing and stared at the flowing light with their huge eyes. Amidst the colorful and dazzling flowing light, a strange pitch-black luster gradually appeared. Then, the luster thickened, and the devil chi seeped through the flowing light. The man in the golden cloak, who was sitting on the golden chair, suddenly stood up and stared in the direction of the flowing light. "My lord, there's a situation. It looks like a devil has appeared." A man immediately ascended the cloud platform and knelt before the person on the golden throne. "Although I vaguely sensed it before, I didn't expect this guy to be a devil cultivator. His methods of concealment are truly impressive." The man on the golden throne said softly, "Immediately send a message to the immortal court and inform my lord to send over the devil-slaying elites. Also, have everyone here use the devil-sealing grand formation with the immortal pool as the center." This time, the goal is not to kill him, but to trap him. Understand? Yes, my lord. The man immediately retreated. Soon, the immortals who were constructing the magical formation and the cloud platform gathered together. Under the lead of the man, they entered the tunnel and went around the entrance of the immortal pool. My lord. A person beside him cupped his fists and said to the man on the golden throne, "If we make such a huge commotion, I'm afraid that many immortals will be attracted. By then, the location of the immortal pool will be exposed." It's fine. The man on the golden throne smiled faintly. Now that things have come to this, it doesn't matter whether it is exposed or not. Even if the other immortals know the location of the immortal pool, so what can they do? A devil cultivator has appeared here, and he is eyeing the immortal pool. This reason alone is enough. We can say that the devil cultivator has set a trap and is plotting against the immortal world, so we have no choice but to seal the immortal pool. After dealing with the devil cultivator, we can send people into the immortal pool and use it. When it reopens, we can tell the immortals that the immortal pool has been polluted by the devil cultivator and can no longer be used. We can't do anything about it. Wouldn't that solve everything? The man's eyes lit up and he hurriedly said, "My lord is wise. This matter was originally complicated, but the arrival of the devil cultivator has inadvertently helped us a lot and saved us a lot of trouble. Isn't that a good thing?" The thousands of immortal court soldiers were well trained and proficient in array formations. They were originally specially used to deal with the guardian beast, but although the guardian beast was special, its strength was not strong enough to deal with it. With the addition of such a devil cultivator, the value of these soldiers could be displayed. You guys hurry up and build the demon sealing great array. I will go in and take a look at the situation and restrain the devil cultivator. The man on the golden throne stood up and flew out of the cloud platform, crashing into the flowing light. Lord, be careful. Su Yun, who was wearing a pitch-black cloak, raised his head. Under his face that was filled with devil chi was a pair of blood-red and sinister eyes. His devil chi was extremely dense. Even the guardian beast's aura was completely suppressed by him. The people of the immortal court seemed to be completely in Su Yun's exclusive zone. The devil chi was like the mouth of a demon, biting the people of the immortal court. Being in the devil chi, everyone felt extreme pain all over their bodies. It was extremely uncomfortable. And in this darkness, other than the blood-red color, there was also a pure white color. That was the Lotus Star Sword in Su Yun's hand. The Lotus Star Sword was not the divine sword in the sword sheath, so the seal on the ominous sword loosened. Su Yun did not dare to casually use the sword in the sword sheath, so he mostly used the Lotus Star Sword, but in the dense devil chi, the light emitted by the Lotus Star Sword was extremely holy. The person with the flag was in a trance. He was sure that he was not mistaken. That holy sword was actually being used by a demon. How ironic was this? Bind. A cold shout came from the darkness. The holy light of the Lotus Star Sword exploded, and then quickly disappeared. When the light disappeared, the devil chi that filled the area actually split into many snake-like objects, directly binding the people of the immortal court. Many immortals did not have time to dodge and were directly tied up and fell to the ground. As for the remaining people who were not tied up, they were constantly resisting the annoying devil chi. Directly bring out the purest immortal energy from the immortal meridian and cover the surface of your body. You can resist this devil chi. The person with the flag quickly analyzed the method to resist the strange devil chi and immediately shouted. When the rest of the people heard this, they immediately did as they were told. It had to be said that the quality of these people from the immortal court was extremely high. In almost an instant, their bodies released a faint halo of light, and when the devil chi that was like a devil snake approached them, it immediately dimmed by quite a bit. Counterattack! The person with the flag immediately shouted. At this time, it was useless to blindly defend. The best defense was to attack. Hearing that, everyone immediately moved, with Su Yun as the center. They split into two groups, scattering to the left and right, and at the same time, they continuously released the immortal qi in their bodies, not holding anything back, nor did they plan to hold anything back, as though they wanted to rely on the immortal qi in their bodies to resist the surrounding terrifying devil qi. However, in the end, they had overestimated their own strength. The overflowing immortal qi did not dilute the devil qi by much, and when they moved, Su Yun moved as well. He was already impatient. A pair of blood-red eyes stared at the approaching people. When the first person approached, Su Yun held onto the lotus star sword with one hand and rushed forward. The shadow flickered in the devil qi, and those people were unable to react in time. Swoosh, swoosh, the snow-white light flickered in the darkness. It was especially eye-catching. The person from the immortal court at the front did not even have time to react before both of his arms were chopped off. He let out a painful howl, and then immediately became silent. The person with the flag anxiously looked over, only to see that Su Yun was standing not far away from the person in the darkness, and that person had already been grabbed by the neck by Su Yun, with one hand raised up. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't. His neck was about to be broken, his legs were randomly staring, and the immortal qi in his body was immediately sealed by the devil qi that leaked out from Su Yun's body. This was a blatant suppression of strength. The person with the flag widened his eyes as he stared blankly at this scene. In his impression, the devil cultivator had already declined. Even if there were a few hidden great devils, they wouldn't be that strong. But now, the devil cultivator that everyone saw was completely different. His strength had already surpassed their imaginations? Kacha. That person's neck was broken, and the devil qi followed the cut on his neck and tore his body into powder. His soul leaked out, but before it could fly far, it was grabbed by the devil qi that overflowed from Su Yun's body and forcefully dragged into his body, and was absorbed. Everyone saw such a solemn scene. Afraid? Was there really such a fearless person in this world? Su Yun did not know, but he could feel that these immortals were afraid. Although they did not show it on their faces, Su Yun could clearly see what they were thinking. He turned his head and stared at another immortal who was close to him. He directly extended his hand and grabbed him. The lotus star sword did not hesitate at all, and directly slashed towards his neck. Another immortal had fallen. When the experts of the immortal court saw this, their hearts trembled. They had discovered a terrifying thing, that was, his defense was completely useless against Su Yun. Once he caught him, he would definitely die. The situation had fallen into a crisis, and the immortal court was not optimistic. The flag-bearer gritted his teeth and shouted in a low voice, "Just hold him back. The Lord must have already started to formulate a countermeasure. As long as we stall for time, we will win. All of you hold on." "Yes, sir." The people of the immortal court roared. "Hold on?" Hearing that, the corner of Su Yun's mouth raised into a sinister smile, the killing intent in his eyes revealed. "Can you guys hold on?" With that, he was about to attack. But at this moment, an ear-piercing sound suddenly broke the strange atmosphere. Su Yun and the people from the immortal court all looked towards the source of the voice, only to realize that the cocoon of the guardian beast had already been broken. When the person with the flag saw this, his expression changed. Chapter 11:19. The huge cocoon broke open once again. It was pitch black inside, and this time, there was no gas leaking out. However, a terrifying pressure came from inside. The person holding the flag had an ugly expression on his face. Judging from the aura coming out of the cocoon, the guardian beast's strength had increased again. No one knew how terrifying its strength was now. Dealing with Su Yun alone was enough to give the people of the immortal court a headache. If the guardian beast added another kick, The pressure on the people of the immortal court would be unprecedentedly huge, and they would not be able to restrain this person anymore. Patter, patter, patter. The giant cocoon had been completely peeled off, and the creature inside appeared in the sight of the immortal court soldiers again. At this time, the guardian beast had undergone an earth-shaking change. Its single-horned head had been replaced by a triangular head, and there were 7 eyes on its face, each of which was like a snake's. The scales on its body were pitch black but translucent, and they kept shaking like wings. Its body was curled up, and its figure couldn't be seen, especially the pair of huge wings on its back, which covered more than half of its body. However, even though it was curled up, its body was still several times bigger than before. Seeing the guardian beast's change, the man with the flag felt his heart beating wildly. Somehow, he had a feeling that the creature he was looking at now was not the same creature he had been fighting against before. Bastard! The giant creature stared at these immortal court people with its horrifying eyes, and suddenly spread its body, which almost filled the whole area. With a deep roar, the creature stretched out its hill-like claws, and directly reached towards the immortal court people. The claws contained the power of wind, water, fire, and thunder, which carried a horrifying destructive intent, and directly engulfed the immortal court people. 2 immortal court people couldn't dodge in time, and were directly covered by the claws. With a series of chi-chi sounds, when the claws lifted up again, the 2 immortal court people had already disappeared. Not even their dregs were left? The rest of the people were terrified. At this time, the guardian beast's strength was many times stronger than before. Its strength had almost increased by several times. It was beyond their ability to deal with. However, they had no way out now. The man with the flag clenched his teeth, raised the flag high, and waved it a few times. The people of the immortal court immediately gathered around him. No one in the immortal court is afraid of death. Since we are going to face a strong enemy today, let's have a good fight and let the enemy know how strong we are. Let them know what we're capable of. The flag-bearer shouted loudly to boost morale. At the same time, he waved the flag in his hand again. Hearing that, Su Yun snorted and was about to take action again, but just at that moment, the guardian beast rushed over first. Its gigantic body was like a mountain, and the terrifying pressure caused the skin of the immortals to crack. Their expressions were tense as they stared fixedly at the guardian beast that was charging towards them. Their eyes showed that they were not afraid of death. Seeing this scene, Su Yun suddenly stopped his hand. The guardian beast seemed to be in great pain for these people of the immortal court. There was no need for him to do anything. Moreover, the reinforcements from the other side of the light had already arrived. Compared to these people of the immortal court who were about to be driven into a dead end, the reinforcements from the other side of the light seemed to be more threatening. Dong! The guardian beast fell to the ground, causing an earth-shattering explosion. The people of the immortal court were shaken to the point of confusion. Most of them had their skin and flesh lacerated as they spat out blood, unable to withstand the terrifying explosion. Su Yun was not affected by the wave of qi. He immediately turned and flew towards the light. Just as he approached the light, a large number of immortals came out, and the person in the lead was the man in the golden cloak that he had seen on the platform. The man roughly scanned the scene, and when he saw the mess, his face under the golden cloak slightly twisted. Devil Cultivator. Furthermore, it's such a powerful Devil Cultivator. It seems like the Devil Slayer operation back then needs to continue. The current Devil Cultivator is already stronger than we imagined. The man in the golden cloak stared at Su Yun and said indifferently, "Do the people of the immortal court like to talk nonsense? Are you in a hurry to spar with me? I just don't want to delay. After all, your reinforcements are most likely on their way." Su Yun raised the Lotus Star sword and slowly flew towards him. Hearing that, the man in the golden cloak frowned, but his face did not reveal the slightest bit of fear. He extended his hand towards his waist and took out a golden dagger, The dagger flickered with a golden light, the dagger's shadow rippled. The dagger's body had an extremely obvious holy power, the devil chi that got close to it would be purified. This sacred heart dagger is specially used to deal with demons. Although you are powerful and cause me to be fearful, this does not stop me from exchanging blows with you. Today, this dagger will be stained with the blood of a great demon. Be careful, the man in the golden cloak said. But just as he finished speaking, Su Yun, who was slowly flying towards him, suddenly disappeared. His pupils dilated and he immediately retreated. Just as he retreated 100 meters away, he saw a wave of sword shadows surging at his previous position. These sword shadows were like a meat grinder, crazily cutting and slashing at the area. After going through 2 transformations, the guardian beast's strength had directly broken through the spirit immortal realm, stepping into the profound spirit god realm. It was extremely terrifying. These immortal court soldiers could no longer contend against it. At this time, they were completely being slaughtered. The guardian beast's huge claws were swatting randomly. In this narrow space, they could not dodge at all. As time passed, the casualties became more and more severe. The immortal court was completely in a passive position. The man in the golden cloak did not expect that there would be such a huge change in the battle that was originally in his grasp. It was truly unexpected. After Su Yun crippled the golden cloak man's weapon, he immediately raised the lotus star sword and rushed over. His speed was so fast that no one could detect him, and the man in the golden cloak had only relied on one of his sensory magic treasure to predict Su Yun's position. Otherwise, he would not have been able to determine Su Yun's position. However, Su Yun's speed was simply too fast. Before he could even catch a glimpse of Su Yun's figure, the terrifying white sword was already close to his body. The cold intent of the sword caused all the hair on his body to stand up. The golden-cloaked man's chest was pierced. All of his defenses were useless against that sword. Bang! The sharp sword pierced through his body, and the golden-cloaked man was kicked in the back, causing him to fall to the ground. Powerless. Too powerless. This was his first feeling when facing this devil cultivator. As soon as he landed on the ground, pain assaulted his body, but he gritted his teeth and turned around in the shortest time possible. He counterattacked, raising both of his hands high up in the air. He quickly chanted a strange chant, dazzling heaven and earth. His hand released tens of thousands of golden lights, which turned into sharp arrows and shot towards Su Yun. But facing the sharp golden arrow, Su Yun did not dodge or dodge, and directly rushed over. The golden arrow pierced his body, but did not leave a single mark, and was not a threat at all. Seeing this, the man in the golden cloak instantly understood. The great demon in front of them was so powerful that it was beyond their imagination. Just relying on him, it was simply impossible for them to defeat this existence. Not to mention defeating him, it would be extremely difficult to even injure him. Too late. It was too late. The white sword descended from the sky and directly pierced into the golden-cloaked man's heart, nailing him to the ground. The golden-cloaked man's body trembled a few times as he looked at the person who was stepping on him with dim eyes. Chapter 11:20. Cough cough cough, you win. The people of the true devil realm are indeed not the same as they were in the past. The man in the golden cloak coughed twice, his pale face appearing in Su Yun's line of sight. The current him, his face was ashen, his eyes were dim, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, making him look extremely miserable. Su Yun stared at him coldly for a moment, then pulled out the sharp blade from his chest, and directly slashed at his left and right arms. The man in the golden cloak did not resist. It was unknown if he was powerless to resist, or if he was unwilling to resist, but both of his arms were cut off. Fresh blood spurted out crazily. The golden-cloaked man let out a muffled groan as beads of sweat dripped down his forehead. He clenched his teeth, as if he was enduring it. Su Yun stared at the man in the golden cloak, extended his hand again, and directly struck his chest. A burst of devil chi was like a poisonous snake, drilling out from his palm and into the chest of the man in the golden cloak. The man in the golden cloak was invaded by the devil chi, and his body trembled crazily. Not long after, the immortal chi around his body suddenly disappeared, and his entire body powerlessly fell to the ground, twitching from time to time. More and more blood flowed out of his mouth, as if he would stop breathing at any time. He stared with his eyes wide open, and shouted with an extremely weak voice, "You! What did you do to me?" "I broke the immortal meridian in your body," Su Yun said indifferently. "You?" The voice of the man in the golden cloak was trembling. If he had been defeated before, then his heart was about to be defeated now. With his immortal meridian shattered, even if he was saved now, his cultivation would still regress by a lot. Was Su Yun planning to cripple him? Su Yun raised his hand from his chest, grabbed his head and walked forward. The man in the golden cloak wanted to struggle, but what ability did he have to resist Su Yun? He could only allow himself to be manipulated and be dragged around like a dead dog. Su Yun dragged the man in the golden cloak with one hand and the lotus star sword in the other, walking towards the guardian beast. At this moment, the guardian beast had just killed the last immortal court soldier. It swung its bloody claws and snorted at the sea of blood. Then, it moved its huge body and turned to Su Yun's side. "Is it you next? Despicable creature." The guardian beast's voice was deep as it spoke in an extremely unfriendly tone. Su Yun glanced at it and directly walked inside. "I want you to guard this place and stop anyone who steps into the celestial pond." As he spoke, he dragged the golden-cloaked man towards the entrance of the celestial pond. "How dare you!" The guardian beast was enraged. It immediately raised its sharp claws and fiercely slapped towards Su Yun. "A despicable creature like you dares to order me around. Damn it!" As the roar fell, the sharp claws fell. However, before the claw could even get close to Su Yun, it was suddenly struck by a burst of devil chi. The terrifying devil chi directly pierced through the guardian beast's palm, causing minced meat to splatter everywhere. The huge palm was sent flying back. The eyes of the golden-cloaked man on the ground instantly widened. How could this be? "Ho!" The guardian beast howled in pain. Both the golden-cloaked man and the guardian beast did not expect Su Yun to be able to destroy the guardian beast's defense in one strike. "You, what exactly is your strength?" The man in the golden cloak seemed to use all his strength to shout out loud. He couldn't see through this guy, so he thought that this guy was just an existence that was a few realms stronger than him. But now, it seemed that he was wrong, and it was a huge mistake. "Based on your knowledge, what is the strongest state?" Su Yun stared at the guardian beast, dragging the golden-cloaked man, and said indifferently. The golden-cloaked man was stunned, and a terrifying thought flashed through his mind. Spirit. 10th stage of the spirit profound god realm? If it was such an existence, then he was practically a god. Immortal was simply unable to describe him. How could this be? An existence at the peak of the spirit profound god realm would actually appear here? Wasn't this something that was rarely described in legends? The golden-cloaked man couldn't believe his own guess. You're so strong." The guardian beast let out a mournful cry and no longer dared to move forward. Instead, it stopped in place and looked at Su Yun vigilantly. "Since you know I'm strong, then don't stop me and submit to me. Otherwise, I'll crush you," Su Yun said coldly. The guardian beast immediately prostrated itself, expressing its submission to Su Yun. Previously, when the immortal court's armored soldiers had crushed it, it had never submitted. But now, facing Su Yun, it had surrendered without hesitation, showing the difference in strength. With the guardian beast submitting, it was equivalent to Su Yun obtaining the qualifications to enter the immortal pond. he directly dragged the golden-cloaked man into the huge cave. The guardian beast did not dare to stop him in the slightest, and did not even dare to make a sound. Su-Yun, who was in the devil soul state, was practically an invincible existence. The news from the Immortal Pond was naturally sent to the Immortal Court in the shortest amount of time possible, and the Immortal Court quickly reacted. In fact, the strength of the golden-cloaked man was not simple. If Su-Yun did not activate the power of the Devil Soul, it would be extremely difficult to deal with him, but it was different now. The Devil Soul had forcefully raised Su-Yun to the peak of Spirit God, and the golden-cloaked man was completely suppressed. He could not use any of his methods, and was extremely powerless against Su-Yun. Since the golden-cloaked man was unable to control the situation here, then they would most likely send even more powerful existences to support this place. Since these existences had arrived, then Su-Yun had to prepare a response as soon as possible. The guardian beast was not weaker than the spirit god, so it should be able to hold on for a while. Time was of the essence. He had to quickly absorb the Immortal Pond's energy. Thinking about that, Su-Yun quickened his pace. After entering the entrance, there was a long diamond tunnel. The tunnel was bright and dazzling, and it led straight to the ground. As Su-Yun flew down, he felt waves of moisture assaulting his face. Amidst the moisture, there was a dense aura, but Su-Yun had never felt this aura before. It was an indescribable and mysterious aura, and even the immortal chi was not as profound as this. Immortal Pond, below must be the Immortal Pond. Su-Yun was overjoyed and moved even faster. Not long after, crash, a strange sound came out, and before Su-Yun could even react, his entire body fell into a clear spring. He was startled, and immediately opened his eyes to look around. This seemed to be water? He leaped up and jumped out. Only then did he realize that below the tunnel was a circular paradise, surrounded by strange rocks and flowers, surrounded by clouds and mist. In the center was a pond that emitted a strange aura, and more than 10 meters above was the entrance of the tunnel. Is this the Immortal Pond? Just then, Ling Qingyu's voice came out from the sword sheath. It's most likely not wrong. Su-Yun was overjoyed. He immediately threw the golden-cloaked man to the side and used the devil chi to suppress him, then removed the sword sheath and opened it, allowing Su Qing and Shangguan Meiyang to come out. Ling Qingyu had always been paying attention to what was happening outside, but the two girls were unable to pry, so they did not know who Su-Yun had fought with just now, or what kind of danger he had experienced. The golden-cloaked man who was lying on the ground looked at Su-Yun with powerless eyes, and when he saw the person who walked out of the sword sheath, his eyes suddenly released a strange light. This sword sheath, could it be the legendary Limitless sword sheath? Su-Yun did not say a word, and only looked at him indifferently. Young master, who is this person? Su Qing saw the golden-cloaked man whose hands were chopped off, and frowned, and asked in confusion. Hostage! Hostage? Shangguan Meiyang and Su Qing were startled. Yes. Su-Yun said indifferently. The matter of the Immortal Pond is a lucrative job. Since the Immortal Court sent this person, it means that this person has extraordinary power in the Immortal Court, and might even be a trusted aide of a certain master. Keeping him alive might be of some use, so I am not in a hurry to kill him. The water in this celestial pool was cool and refreshing. When one entered the pool, it was as if he had fallen into a pile of cool, fragrant, and soft cotton. The pool water was like a living creature, constantly rubbing against his body, caressing him, stirring him. It was extremely comfortable. But very quickly, Su-Yun sensed that something was wrong. After soaking in the water for about 20 breaths of time, the water actually began to drill into his body. His hands, feet, body, and even his head were all corroded by the water. Even if Su Yun wanted to resist, he would not be able to. In front of the water, the devil chi was practically useless. He felt that the pool water had already pierced through his skin, seeped into his immortal meridian, and directly entered his body, following the immortal meridian straight towards his immortal eyes. Su Yun was startled. He suddenly opened his eyes. At the moment, his blood-red eyes had become extremely clear. The devil chi around his body had also disappeared without a trace, but a wave of panic and unease suddenly surged in his heart. This situation didn't seem to be right. He turned his head to look at Shangguan Meiyuan and Su Qing'er, only to discover that the two girls were curled up, like babies in a placenta, floating in the pool. Their faces were calm, and there was nothing strange about them. Could it be that he was thinking too much? But this feeling, Just then, Su Yun, who was in the pool, suddenly let out a low growl. He opened his mouth, and the pool water immediately poured into his mouth, but he did not care about the pain of choking his throat. The current him was completely tormented by the intense pain coming from all over his body. In that instant, all the pool water that wrapped around his body turned into swords, directly tearing apart his skin and flesh. A large amount of black chi leaked out from his body, actually dyeing the surrounding pool water black. On the shore, a white light shot out from the sword sheath, and Ling Qingyu, who was dressed in white and barefooted, appeared at the side of the pool. The gold-cloaked man who was in a distant fainted saw Ling Qingyu, and was shocked. What's going on? This guy, Su Yun, the water of the immortal pool, seems to be extremely disgusted with him? Ling Qingyu's face was ugly. She stared at the pond where Su Yun was. After a long while, a complicated look flashed past her eyes. If that's the case, then it's going to be troublesome. The water of the immortal pool was originally blue and translucent, close to white, but after Su Yun entered the pool, not long after, half of the water had actually turned pitch black. The pool water is repelling. Yes, it must be repelling. Ling Qingyu seemed to have noticed something. She immediately bent down and shouted towards the pool water. Su Yun, quickly come out, the water of the immortal pool is repelling you. Quickly come out.